usually this is welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror. But for today, this is, hey, yo. Welcome to Sledgehammer Horror, everybody. I am Ken Sledge. Over here, I got my boy Robbie from That Horror Couple. Down here, we got the man J-Dev.
Sweet!
How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
NWO
for life.
Yo,
This is so awesome. Real quick, Robin, what's going on? Nathan, how you doing, buddy? Bobby's been hitting me up about this. He's super stoked. Bobby's one of the biggest wrestling fans I know as well. So, before we get started, Rob, I want to talk a little bit about That Horror Couple. Rob is part of That Horror Couple with his amazing wife. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do over there, buddy?
Basically everything horror related, from trailer reactions to movie reviews to just horror news, horror talk, whatever's going on. We jump on it like 70s, 80s, 90s, you name it. We just cover horror. We're both huge horror fans, and it's just and it's been doing good lately. This week coming up, we have a few Easter Bunny slashers that we found that I can't wait to get into because they're just super corny and so bad they're good. I cannot wait to review that. What else are we working on, Kaylee? We have anything else coming up?
The last two Walking Dead.
Oh, we're gonna wrap up the last two Walking Dead episodes, and we're gonna wrap up the last two Last Drive-In episodes we never covered. So we have those coming out, and yeah. So basically, check us out, and we appreciate everybody that has done so far. So thank you.
Well, the great thing is, you guys don't got to go far looking for them because their link is down here in the description. You know who else's link is down here in the description for you to subscribe to? That'd be my boy J-Dev. J-Dev, can you tell people about what you do on your channel a little bit?
I do a little bit of everything, honestly. I cover my favorite shows, Chicago Bulls news, every once in a while wrestling stuff, which might be a little bit more based on how this stream goes, but I know it'll do great. I love covering The Walking Dead, Dexter, UFC fight reactions. I'm completely random, so you never know what I'll do next.
Well, dude, I can't. That's the best thing about it is not only are these guys big horror heads, they're big wrestling fans as well. And not only are they that, but they're two of my bestest friends in the whole world, man. So I talk to these guys all the time. They're amazing dudes, and we're so excited for you guys to join us. And I'll say this a couple of times throughout the night. I'm going to say it again right now. Their links are down here in the description. So if you haven't subscribed to That Horror Couple or J-Dev TV, that's the spot to do it. So let me catch up on the chat real quick. Hey, Charles, thank you so much, man. We got a donation here, so give me 1 second. Charles, you caught me off guard. I didn't expect it this early, brother. Here we go.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
We appreciate it, buddy.
Hi.
Thank you so much, man. And he says he's going with Hulk Hogan. You may see him on a list or two tonight, man. William, thanks for stopping out, buddy. Nice to see you. Gavin, hey, thought you were bald, Kent. No, me and my daughter got matching headbands, so I told her I'd wear it tonight. I have top 5 male and female on my list. Shaheen, thank you for stopping out. Daniel, what's going on, buddy? So as always, guys, we will give our honorable mentions. And the funny thing is tonight, I actually have 3 honorable mentions. Usually I have 2. Tonight I went all out. I'm going 3 honorable mentions here. Very excited for this. For those of you that don't know, I grew up a huge wrestling fan. I think the thing is, Robin's here. What's up, Robin? How you doing? Please. I was telling Ken this was hard. Yes, I think this was very hard too. The only one that was easy for me was my number 1. That's the only one that was easy for me to determine. I didn't have any female wrestlers, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, buddy? So like I said, I have 3 honorable mentions. I do have a couple females on my list. So this is something I'm very excited about. What about you guys? Do you guys have any honorable mentions, or are you guys just a straight top 10?
Well, I had 2, but now I'm going to add 1 more since you have 3.
Since I did 3, so that way it's not, I respect it.
I have 8 honorable mentions.
Oh boy.
I don't know if it's allowed.
You can do what you got to do, brother.
Yep.
That's all good with me.
I mean, I have a top 50 list if we want to do that.
Dude, that's hard for me to come up with 10 wrestlers' names. I've been watching wrestling like close to 30 years now, and like it's hard enough just to pick a like top 10 out of the 80s, you know, or the 90s. It's just, or the Attitude Era. It's the hardest thing, and I'm like, so.
And I do want to say before we start as well, something that I usually do say. 1, we don't know each other's lists. I have no idea what these gentlemen have on their list. And also, these are who we think are our favorite wrestlers of all time. This has nothing to do with who we think is the best, anything like that. Even though I think my number one, number two are probably my two who I think are the best, even though. But for me, this is my favorite list. This is not who I think is the best. So Nathan says his two honorable mentions are Seth Rollins and Sting. And with that, I will give you mine. My honorable mentions, number one, the badass Billy Gunn. My other honorable mention, I'm going with Chris Jericho. And for my third honorable mention, I am going with flying Brian Pillman.
Nice.
These are three guys that I grew up with. And actually, flying Brian Pillman was a tag team with Stunning Steve Austin back in the day. And that was watching them win the tag titles in WCW was a high moment for me. I absolutely loved watching that pay-per-view, and seeing Brian Pillman do that leg drop off the top rope took my breath away. That was the first time I had ever seen anything like that. Because for me, it was always like an elbow drop or a splash. But to see flying Brian Pillman go up to that top rope and deliver that leg drop from the top rope blew my mind. It was like, wow, he did that from the top rope where Hulk Hogan usually does it, just running. So that's one thing that blew me away. Billy Gunn, I think, is probably the most underutilized professional wrestler in the history of the game. Much like Scott Hall, the dude should have been a world champion.
Absolutely.
But so far, nothing. I think that it's a shame that we have not seen the big title put on to Billy Gunn. And then Chris Jericho. What can you say about the guy? I mean, the Lionheart. I've loved him since WCW. He has one of the best jumps, I think, in the history of professional wrestling when he jumped from WCW to WWE with the Y2K countdown and then his feud with The Rock. That was just such a badass moment. And I just remember for weeks us all being like, who is this? What is going on with this countdown? And then welcome to Raw is Jericho, and I just remember I like my hair standing up right now thinking of that moment. And
it's probably the best feud ever.
Yeah, one of the best, premieres of all time. And I really think another thing about that is I think that the biggest pop I've ever heard at a wrestling event is when Chris Jericho won the world title from Triple H with the Lion Salt, and Earl Hebner did the fast 3 count, and then they ended up flipping it. But I've never heard a pop like that in anything since then. So if you guys haven't checked that out, YouTube that. Chris Jericho wins the title from Triple H. The biggest pop I've ever heard in my life. So that's what I'm going for my 3 honorable mentions. Let's jump over to you, Rob.
I have 8 honorable mentions. How should I do that?
Bring them. Let's hear them.
All right. And like I said, this top 10 list was hard to do. So I think there's people that maybe should have been on there, but I just thought I'd mention them anyway. Andre the Giant. Growing up as a kid, there was nothing better than he was just the visually, like to this day, there's a lot of big guys in wrestling, like Big Show, Dean, all those, but I never got more excited than when I saw Andre, like visually. And WrestleMania 3, when he was up against Hogan, that's every Hulkamaniac was scared. It's like this guy might be able to take out Hogan,
Yeah.
The only reason he's not like wrestling ability was limited because of his size. So I don't think he was the best wrestler, but visually, he was one of a kind. He was special. So I got Andre the Giant. I wanted to mix it up with a woman because women's wrestling is amazing these days. And I feel like there's plenty of times recently where the women steal the show from the men, especially recently. And I feel like I had to mention one woman because I feel like she totally changed the game. Lita. She was she was sexy and she was badass and she was tough. And she was the first girl I saw to jump into the ring and do flying head scissors to guys. Like her and China come to mind, but that was the first girl I saw mix it up with the guys really and, throw them around. So Lita's tough, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention Lita. I'm a small guy, so I kind of relate to the smaller guys, and I had to say this guy, Rey Mysterio. He's a lucha for that Mexican style to WWE, and before that, growing up, I never really saw that. But an advantage Rey Mysterio had was he could speak English, so he was good at cutting promos. A lot of the luchadors, they couldn't communicate with the crowd. So, Mysterio had the upper hand because he can cut a promo, and he was just visually the man in the ring, with the high flying and just that whole like lucha libre style. So Mysterio, talking about high flyers, my next honorable mention, Hardy. Jeff Hardy, he did stuff I've never seen. Off ladders, through tables, amazing high flyer. One of the best tag teams ever was the Hardy Boys. And, personally, he's had his problems and all that, but as a wrestler, he's the man. He's got to be mentioned. They belong in the Hall of Fame, the Hardy Boys.
They'll get there.
I don't know if they'll ever get there, but they deserve it.
They'll get there.
Yeah, they'll get there.
I wanted to mention,
If the Ultimate Warrior's there, they'll get there.
If Scott Steiner's in the Hall of Fame, the Hardy Boys will be in the Hall of Fame.
which is weird. But Steiner had like mad beef with Triple H or something. Like, didn't he say stuff? But I don't know. But I guess all is good now. But I was like, wow. I mentioned Shawn Michaels because somehow he didn't make my top 10. But Shawn Michaels had some of the greatest matches I've ever seen. They called him Mr. WrestleMania. Everything he did from the Rockers to the match at WrestleMania 25 with Undertaker is one of the best matches I've ever seen. Yeah. Very charismatic. I met him once and he wasn't too talkative. That kind of soured my opinion. But as a wrestler, I got to mention Shawn Michaels. Scott Hall. Like I told you before we started, nobody killed their gimmick more than Scott Hall. Most quotable lines, best character. Whether he was a good guy or bad guy, he still had that heel attitude, which I loved. And I mentioned Sting because when I think of WWE, I think of Hogan. I think of certain faces. When I think of WCW, I think of Flair and I think of Sting. Mm-hmm. First name that comes to my mind when I think of, like, Southern wrestling, Ted Turner, I think of Sting. And then finally, my honorable mention, I wanted to mention this guy because he's on the current roster. So I feel weird because his career is still happening. But Adam Cole, baby.
I knew Adam Cole was going to be on your list, too.
No, he's on my honorable mention, but I feel like this guy, I can't name one time where he phoned it in. He wrestles every match as if it's the main event at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. His catchphrases are just so fun to scream. This guy, he's never had a bad match with anybody. I love Adam Cole, and I think he's going to be a future world champion for sure. So those are my honorable mentions. Sorry I took forever.
Oh, that's fine. No, very nice. Well, I gotta paint a quick picture. So my love for wrestling, which nowadays is not what it used to be. Back in 1987, my mom's boyfriend at the time, Steve, was over, and he ordered this event called WrestleMania. And it was the WrestleMania 3 in the, well, Hogan would say Silver Dome, or Superdome, but it was Silver Dome. Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan. And I didn't like much of anything back then. I liked Transformers and He-Man. That's all I really liked. And I was 6 years old. And then I saw this spectacle, this 93,000. And that's where my love of wrestling began, seeing WrestleMania 3, apparently on pay-per-view in 1987, which that's the only way I could have watched it. So he must have somehow ordered. I don't know how my mom would let him do that. But nonetheless, there's where my love came from. So my honorable mentions, I'm going to do two people that aren't necessarily in order, and then I'll give my number 11. First honorable mention, my favorite tag team of all time. Oh, what a rush. The Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal. I mean, or the Road Warriors, whatever you want to call them, wherever they were the best tag team. Hawk and Animal were just amazing. They were physical specimens, and they had the shoulder pads, and they looked intimidating as hell, and the face paint, so I had to mention them. My only female mention of the broadcast, she's not necessarily known for her wrestling, but man, I loved this person back in the mid to late 90s, and that would be Sunny. I know it's a controversial pick because right now she has a lot of demons and jail time, and somebody got killed in a car accident that she may have been drinking. But back to when she was in the WWF in the mid 90s, I absolutely love Sunny. I know wrestling wise, she didn't do much except for catfights in ECW, but I absolutely love Tammy Sitch as Sunny. And I got an autograph from her at a convention. Go ahead, Rob.
I think about every guy like Sunny growing up in the 90s. I'm sure
yeah.
we all like Sunny.
Absolutely. Yep. Every night before bed, too. Anyway, and then my number 11, since Ken had 3 honorable mentions, Brock Lesnar. I know some people don't like Brock Lesnar because he's part-time. Whatever he is now, I'm not really sure. But Brock Lesnar has made so many strides in this business and became a bigger star outside of the WWE when he became the UFC undisputed heavyweight champion when he beat Randy Couture. I don't remember what UFC event it was. So Brock Lesnar got even bigger, and he's just a physical specimen. What he can do in the ring, how athletically gifted Brock Lesnar is, he is amazing. Despite the fact that he only wrestles every once in a blue moon, I have to like the guy. Mic skills, maybe not the best, but in-ring work, the guy that beat the streak at WrestleMania 30, I had to put Brock Lesnar at least as an honorable mention. Actually, he was number 10, but I made a last-minute change last night. So there's my 3 honorable mentions: the Legion of Doom, Sonny, and Brock Lesnar.
Got some little Paul Heyman going on in here.
Well, that's Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. You got to include Paul Heyman, too.
Yes. Real quick, we'll catch up on the chat. Bobby says his 3 honorable mentions are Bret Hart, John Cena, and Randy Orton. One thing I wanted to say, and I was waiting to see if anybody would mention John Cena. When it comes to in-ring ability and being a wrestler, John Cena was not on my list. When it comes to being a human being, John Cena would be number 1 on my list. The guy has done so much for Make-A-Wish. He's done so much for children. When it comes to being a human being, I don't think there's a better one on this planet than him.
You're right.
William says Roddy Piper, Macho Man, and Diamond Dallas Page. Get that diamond cutter. Love it.
Bang!
Let's see what Gold Dust is on everybody's list. You get a little bit of that. Guys, taking me back, man.
I'm getting into it.
X-Pac and Badass Billy Gunn. Taz and Adrian Street. Nice. Thank you, Bobby. We appreciate it. Got my Outsiders t-shirt on. Let's go. Lita. Lita was Lita was in a band. Love the Demolition Man and Scream posters. I was wondering if that Demolition Man was a little nod to Demolition, but
I love Demolition. They would be my number 2 as a tag team, by the way.
Yeah, they were great. Great.
They should be in the Hall of Fame.
They should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
It's because Bill Edel, or whatever his name is, Axe, had sued WWE. They'll be in there someday.
They will.
It's not right. They should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
They already should be. Yeah, I agree.
What's up, Russell?
The Great Khali can be in the Hall of Fame.
Jeff Jarrett's in the Hall of Fame. Anybody can get into the Hall of Fame. Love me some Lita. She was the Diva Goat.
Oh, yeah.
Trish Stratus. Oh, we all love Trish. Anyone remember the WCW faction with Mysterio, Kidman, Tori Wilson, and Conan called the Filthy Animals? I love them, and they had awesome theme music. I vaguely remember it, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's not something that's like popping out of my brain.
That's taking it back.
I think I know.
Those like Mysterio, Kidman, and Conan, those were badasses in the even though Kidman, when Kidman started wearing the wife beater and the shorts and like he had that shooting star press, like Billy Kidman was the man.
Oh yeah.
Cheating, I guess, but the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express. That worked.
Oh, that feud went on for 30 years. That was a good feud.
Yeah. You know what? Sting versus the NWO is probably one of the best feuds of all time, and the way that feud ended was complete and utter bullshit. Bullshit. Met Dallas Cole and Dallas, super cool human being. That's dope, Bobby. Macho Man versus Steamboat, WrestleMania 3. And I got to throw this out there. For those of you that don't know, if you're here, you probably know.
Mm-hmm.
But your boy, literally your boy, was at WrestleMania 3. I've got pictures of my mom and dad holding me. I was a little boy, but I was there. Pontiac Silverdome, in Pontiac, right outside of Detroit. We were there.
Very cool, man.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I used to wrestle with Animal towards the end of his life. He was nice when he wanted to be, but he could also be not so nice. That's intense, man. That's awesome. Sonny Man is a smoking guns. Bart and Billy Gunn, baby.
And the Godwins.
Yep. Yeah. Didn't you see at one time manage the Headbangers?
And Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
LOD 2000.
Man.
Yeah.
My number 10 is the $1 Million Man. Everybody's got a price. Somebody else is a champion, man. John Cena, Macho Man, and Trish Stratus. Number 10, Jeff Hardy. My girlfriend said her number 1 is Stone Cold. She made me write this. Hey, man, toss her a beer for me.
Hell yeah.
I used to wrestle with Buff Bagwell as well. He is always super nice, has a lot of demons. Halloween. Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. Number 10, the Ultimate Warrior. Demolition is in the WWE Hall of Fame. I didn't know that.
No, they're not.
They should be. They should be.
They should be, but they're not yet.
Jeff Hardy was by far my favorite. Love Crazy Mother Effers. Had nothing to lose. Yeah, the Hardys were great. I got to see the first Starrcade in Greensboro, North Carolina. That is awesome, man. That is so cool. So there, we did our honorable mentions. Rob, do you want to start us off with your number 10?
Of course. Okay, so my number 10, I had to mention this guy, being from Long Island, New York myself. I give the hardcore legend Mick Foley. I just feel like that guy, he put his body through what most people would buy. He's missing an ear. I feel like he brought like hardcore wrestling to the WWE during the Attitude Era, and he did stuff I've never seen. And I followed his career ever since. And what I respect about him so much is he can have a Japanese death match with Terry Funk, but he can also go on TV and be Mr. Sacco and be hilarious.
Yeah.
He has the ability to recreate himself and be Dude Love, be Cactus Jack, be Mankind, be Mick Foley, be Santa Foley. The guy is just like, he's a badass wrestler, and but he could also be entertaining as hell. Like, he knows the business, has a good mind for the business. And
that's Mrs. Foley's baby boy, man.
And like during the whole Monday Night Wars, I honestly believe when WWE started beating WCW again, it was right after Mick Foley jumped off the cell. Because if you think about it, WCW had nobody that could do that stuff because everybody was older in WCW at the time. They didn't have who was going to do that in WCW. So right there, they gave you something that you would never see on WCW, and that's kind of where the war started changing for me. I'm like, and also when Foley won the belt finally, that ratings draw, like that night, WWE won in the ratings. So Foley, and I met him a couple times. He's the nicest human being you'll ever meet in your life. So
the only person to enter and be eliminated from the same Rumble 3 times.
Yeah, I remember that. He came out as Dude Love, Cactus Jack, and yeah.
And was that 98? I think it was 98.
I think it was. Came out 3 times.
Yeah.
So who's coming in at number 10 for you, J-Dev?
Well, speaking or going off of what Rob just said and what you said earlier about biggest props in wrestling, I just have to mention this, not related to my number 10. The night Mick Foley won the championship is the biggest pop I've ever heard. Not because of Foley necessarily, but when Stone Cold returned that night, listen to that moment in 1999. That is a huge pop for somebody returning. So just had to mention that. But my number 10 is somebody I added to the list yesterday just because of this person's impact to the business. Hulk Hogan, in my opinion, wouldn't be as big of a star, I think, without this person. He might have started a big star, but he would have flamed out. And that would be the Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah. Macho Man, he was a little nuts, and backstage he was a little crazy, like attention to detail, OCD. But the Macho Man was a ring general. He was the cerebral assassin before Triple H, I think. And his impact to the business doesn't go unnoticed. And another wrestler that we unfortunately lost too soon. So I wish he would have gotten the Hall of Fame before he passed, but the Macho Man Randy Savage is my number 10.
Can't go wrong with Macho Man. We may talk about him again.
I'm sure we will.
My number 10, he could surf, he could be dark like the Crow, and he helped WCW hold them in the Monday Night era, and that is Sting. When Sting started, and again, I want to say this, I'm going to be an open book here. I did not put Scott Hall on my list. I know he recently passed, and I have nothing but love and respect and admiration for Scott Hall. And without Scott Hall, you wouldn't have had the Crow Sting. Scott Hall is the one that introduced that gimmick to Sting. And that was brilliant. That was brilliant when you had Sting in the rafters and whose side is he on? He's wearing black and white. Is he with the NWO? Is he against the NWO? And then after a year, he finally comes down and he attacks the NWO. Like, that was probably my favorite time period in WCW. I've always been a WWF guy, WWE guy. I'm sorry, I don't want to get sued. I was always a WWE guy. And I would always, I don't know if you guys remember, but when we were young, Nitro started at 8. Monday Night Raw started at 9. So I would always watch the first hour of Nitro and then switch over to WWE unless Sting was on the TV. If Sting was on, WWE could wait. Because you had to know what was going to happen with him. You just needed to know what's going to happen with Sting this week. Is this going to be the week we find out what's going on with Sting? Because back then, WWE rumors weren't as easily accessible. Like today you can read shit online and know what's going to happen at every pay-per-view, and it's lame. But back then there was genuine surprise with every event. The spoilers weren't out there. People weren't dropping them on social media, and it was just super intense. So my number 10, just because of the effect he had, I have to go with the Stinger.
You remember when
real quick? Go ahead.
Remember when Sting was calling out Hogan? and he didn't say a word, but the crowd knew he wanted Hogan. And that storyline lasted a little while, but like that's really a powerful thing. Like just from like his expressions, the crowd knew who he wanted. I remember that.
Do you guys remember when they had all the Stings come out of the crowd and Sting actually pulled the Sting mask off and had his makeup on underneath it?
That's
that
the real
was one of the
Sting!
best moments ever, man.
Yeah, it was.
Real quick,
And also-
let's catch up on the chat real quick. Let me see. Wow. I don't know why I did that. Sorry, guys. The Hardys are still killing it in AEW. Good for Jeff. You know, that's somebody that deserves. He just needs to face his demons, get clean. The guy's got all the talent in the world.
He is clean.
Is he clean now?
Yeah, they fired him thinking he was dirty, but he wasn't. He had a concussion.
What
wow.
That's a dick move.
Yeah, he was pissed about it. So they offered him a spot in the Hall of Fame. He's like, no, I'll just go to AEW and team with Matt.
Good for him. Good for him. That's a shitty move on their part. Ric
didn't know
Flair
it.
versus Harley Race. Wow. I think that was that Starrcade. Harley Race, legit tough guy. I got to see him wrestle at some shows at my local YMCA back in the 70s and early 80s. Honestly, Sting is still killing it as well. 10, Kane. Scared you know what? Oh, yeah. Glenn Jacobs, man. I don't think there's ever been a better worker that was less selfish than Kane. Glenn Jacobs, Isaac Yankem, DDS, Fake Diesel, whatever you want to call him.
The Christmas creature.
Yes, man. Glenn Jacobs is one of the least selfish people in the history of pro wrestling. And I think that shows with the respect that The Undertaker gives him. It's amazing to see. Number 10, R-Truth. He's just so raw and honest. If we're doing our top 10 favorite, like, hilarious wrestlers, R-Truth would be in my top 5. Dude cracks me up every time I see him.
Agreed.
Number 9, Al Snow.
What does everybody want?
Yes, dude. That's so awesome. He is a great guy. 10, Jake the Snake Roberts. No one has promo skills, his wrestling skills, and he created the DDT short arm clothesline. Jake the Snake Roberts, I think that if the Honky Tonk Man wouldn't have hurt him as bad as he did, we might have seen Jake the Snake as a world champion. When the Honky Tonk Man, when the guitar didn't break, I don't know what this whole story is, but it ruined Jake the Snake's neck. And, you know, he got addicted to painkillers, addicted to alcohol. It sent his career on a down. I mean, you don't blame the Honky Tonk Man, obviously. I'm not saying it's Honky Tonk Man's fault, but it's just an unfortunate promo that went wrong. Legion of Doom is in the Hall of Fame, but Demolition currently is not, hopefully soon. And they had a dog collar match with Roddy Piper and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg Valentine's another one that was just underutilized in his time.
That's my favorite Piper match.
Yeah. Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah. Scott, look that up. Scott Hall totally gave him the idea. For what it's worth, Hogan didn't accept Bischoff to turn heel. He would have gone to Sting. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that would have been crazy.
That night that Hogan turned heel, Sting was the backup in case he didn't want to turn heel. Yeah.
If he pulled out at the last second.
That's insane.
What a crazy night in sports entertainment. The night that started it all.
The back of the beach, man.
That's my favorite heel turn in history when Hogan went bad.
It was amazing.
When he came out, I remember as a kid, you're like,
is he the third guy? What are you talking about?
Bro, did you
Bobby the Brain? I knew it. I just knew he was going to do that.
You remember all the garbage, all the trash they threw in the ring, the crowd?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they piled the ring with trash.
Pissed. I missed Brian Cage. Harley Race could almost outdrink Andre the Giant. Wow. Triple H is the best wrestler ever. Agree to disagree, my friend. Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn. Number 8, Stan Hansen. Someone who was just stiff and hard, but by gosh, the man was a pop icon in Japan.
That guy wrestled
got injured with a real guitar. Power and Glory had a great finisher in WWF.
Hercules and Paul Roma.
Gosh, these are all names. This is so awesome because I haven't heard some of these names in so long. All right, J-Dev, you want to start us off with your number 9?
I will. So, some people wouldn't include this guy in their top 10. He's one of those guys that never won the big title, but man, he was good. And he'd randomly return at times, and I absolutely loved this man. And that would be Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. All the vignettes that he would do, they were just awesome. He was great. He was phenomenal in the ring, and he had the look. Glad he was able to come back and wrestle for WCW, although I don't think he was impactful because there was just too much of a pecking order in WCW other than to give him the United States Championship. That's the furthest he got. And then when he returned at the Royal Rumble in 2002, I absolutely loved it. Granted, the return was already announced ahead of time, but it was awesome. And then he did the perfect plex in the ring, which is kind of a lame hold, but pop big time for it. So I love Mr. Perfect. It's sad. Another wrestler that we lost way too soon. Had to kick the cocaine habit, but Mr. Perfect is my number 9.
I love his vignettes, like when he would throw the football to himself. I was like, that's amazing. No,
It's
that's
perfect.
Yes, man. And how every time he would walk out, he'd spit the gum and slap it into the crowd.
I would have to say, David, Perfect is probably my favorite Intercontinental Champion of all time. I think he was the best Intercontinental Champion there ever was.
When you had Perfect, Rude, Texas Tornado, Bret Hart, Davey Boy Smith, when those guys were battling out for the Roddy Piper, the Intercontinental title was prestigious at that time. Like, it was an honor to hold the Intercontinental title. Like, it wasn't just this throwaway title. Like, back then, when you had those, crop of guys fighting for the IC title, sometimes you were looking forward to the IC match more than you were the World Championship match.
The thing was, more times than not, the Intercontinental match, they out wrestled the main event guys.
Always.
Oh, absolutely.
They would steal the show almost every time because the main event guys they couldn't do what the IC guys were doing. I mean, you look at the matches with Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect. I mean, they were stealing the show. Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man, another one. Those are both IC title guys. Like, they were stealing the show.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one of my favorite matches was for the IC title. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But nice. My number 9, he has been talked about. That's my boy, Jeff Hardy. Man, loved him. Loved Jeff. I still, to this day, like I said, I didn't know about the fact that he had a concussion and all that. I didn't know that. That's bullshit. That really sucks on WWE's part to not go in and, do concussion protocol and drug test him. To just drop him like that, I think is a really weak move.
Yeah, they dropped him before the test came back because they thought he left a show randomly and they're like, oh, he's got to be on something. He just was concussed and confused because the test came back negative.
That's a really shitty thing to do to a human being. So that really bums me out. And, like when I was young, like you had him and Matt Hardy and Lita together. He wore the fishnets, and he dyed his hair, punk rocker guy, and, the Swanton Bomb. I dare you guys to tell me you never did the Swanton Bomb on a trampoline. Come on now. We all know.
Do it. I couldn't do it. I tried.
Like, we used to put a ladder outside of the trampoline, and that was our top rope. And we'd get up on the ladder. We swanton off it onto each other. Like, Jeff Hardy was that guy to me. Like, he was the guy that, much like Sting was in WCW, when Jeff Hardy was on screen, it was must-see TV. And one of my favorite matches of all time has to be Jeff Hardy and The Undertaker on Monday Night Raw in a ladder match. The match where Jeff Hardy earned the American Badass's respect. He's in the ring and you haven't broke me, Taker. I'm still standing. Then The Undertaker comes down and just pats him on the head. He's like, you're one tough son of a bitch. So like, oh, more emo goosebumps right now. But that to me is another thing that's just like, you knew when Jeff Hardy was coming down, and it didn't have to be the main event at WrestleMania. It didn't have to be SummerSlam. When he was coming down on Thursday Night SmackDown, you were ready for something to happen. You were ready for something amazing to happen back then. So I would be remiss and I'd be lying if I didn't say Jeff Hardy is definitely very important to me in the world of wrestling. So my number 9, I'm going to go with Jeff Hardy. What about you, Rob?
My number 9, the Ayatollah of rock and roller, Chris Jericho. I mean, like, I had to do it, man. Jericho, he's so talented he's talented. He knows the business so well. He can cut a promo so well. He has the ability to reinvent himself over the years. He wasn't long hair rocker, Chris Jericho. He had short hair, putting people on the list. He's a good face. He's a good heel. And, AEW is very successful right now, doing very well. And I feel like a big part of that is because they put the belt on Jericho first. They had to put it on somebody that can, a familiar face that can carry the company, be the face of the company. And I feel like he's a big reason why AEW is where they are right now. I mean, Jericho is the man. Very entertaining, good heel, good baby face. One of my favorites.
Yeah. And again, he was my honorable mention, so he made the list.
He would be. He's in my top 20 for sure. I don't know where exactly, but he's in my top 20.
Another guy, that future Hall of Famer, but he says he's banned from WWE right now, but I think he should be. He's had a Hall of Fame career already. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
He will be in the Hall of Fame.
He will be there.
The first undisputed world champion. Everything he did for not just the WWE, but everything he did for WCW, everything he did. I mean, he unmasked Juventud Guerrero. That was another moment where he unmasked him.
Some jabroni named Juventud.
But it ended up being Dean Malenko. You know, like, it was just another thing. Like, I loved those days back in WCW where you never knew what was going to happen.
Bro, he's 52 right now, jumping around with 22-year-olds, and he's not skipping a beat. You know what I'm saying? He still. That guy is incredible. Like, Jericho's the man. Like,
he is. I love him to death.
And you have not seen him wrestle his last match in WWE. I guarantee it.
I'm with you. I've always
said
he'll
go
back and do one more match there.
Look at
he'll do one more run, I think.
So Clintonville says number 8, Ravishing Rick Rude.
Awesome heel.
One of the original members of D-Generation X, too, if you guys remember.
He was on Raw and Nitro on the same night.
Raw and Nitro I was just going to say that. How awesome is that? Number 9, Macho Man. Number 9, Randy Orton.
Ooh, yeah.
RVD versus Jerry Lynn matches are classic. Kurt Hennig deserved a lot better than what he got and wished he'd have been champion back in the day. Triple H, he was the game. He knew how to put on a show. Number 10, the Macho Man. Diamond Dallas Page. The Mountie had the IC belt for a couple of days. He did. And he took it.
Bret Hart was sick. Bret Hart was sick. I think Bret Hart was sick, so they gave it to the Mountie.
Bret Hart.
He took it from Bret, and I think Piper got it from him. Is that what happened?
And then Hart ended up getting it back from Piper in a great match.
Oh, yeah, WrestleMania 8. Yeah, WrestleMania 8.
He got it with that roll-up, didn't he?
That was a great finish to the match, yeah.
Yes, it was. Now that time in TNA with Sting and oh, man, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
that was one of the worst things I've ever sin my life. And that was one of those things where you're watching it and you feel small. Like Sting, the crowd's like, bullshit. And Sting's like, I agree. I fucking agree with you. Like, this sucks. New Jack. Oh, man. New Jack was a scary fucking dude. That's a guy that you could not pay me to go in the ring with. That guy was scary.
I like he played. The rap song was playing the whole time he was wrestling, though. I thought that was pretty different in ECW.
Oh, yeah. Here's another thing, too. This right here. D'Lo Brown and X-Pac matches were amazing. When they were feuding for the European title, again, that title was relevant. You felt like these guys wanted that. This wasn't Shawn Michaels fucking over Davey Boy Smith overseas just to come back and lay down to Triple H. You know, these guys wanted to put this gold around their waist. You know what? We'll do it right now. I was going to do this at the end before our number 1. After we catch up on the chat, gentlemen, we're going to think of a dream match. A match that we would have loved to have seen that never got to happen. Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle. Booker T, his matches with Stone Cold. Jericho going to come back for a Rumble. That would be nice. Number 8 is Jericho. Alexander Hammerstone. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, neither.
The Miz and Sheamus will both be in the Hall of Fame. I agree.
Agreed.
Honky Tonk Man. And it's funny how the Honky Tonk Man was the longest reigning Intercontinental title champion. And then the Ultimate Warrior just came out and smacked him.
But he wasn't prepared for the Ultimate Warrior. There was a mystery opponent at SummerSlam 88.
That was great. Ricky Steamboat was a face and will always be a face to me. Him and Jay Youngblood were a great team. So Bobby's dream match is HBK versus AJ Styles. What about you, Robbie? Who would your dream match be?
That's a good question. J-Dev, you take this. I'll come back to me. I got to think.
And I want to preface this with both the men are in their prime. Both men in the prime of their career.
You know what would be good? Probably just Bret Hart and AJ Styles, or Bret Hart and CM Punk. No, actually, Bret Hart and CM Punk. I think that'd be.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
Dude,
real good choice.
So if you want a main event match, maybe not the best wrestlers, but I think the biggest drawing match of all time would be Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg, because it's the match we didn't get, other than Goldberg getting stunned a few times. I think that would be the match I'd want to see, even though it might not be as entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully,
if
Austin
we're going
wins.
Both men in their primes. It's hard to argue against AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels. To see both
Agreed.
those guys together in their prime would be a hell of a match. Now, you were just talking about a draw. What we're going to do to draw people in. And I'm going to take that and flip it on its head. I'm going to go with Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Real American. I'm going to go with Stone Cold versus Hulk Hogan in his WrestleMania 3 days. I think those two would have put on a great match. I think that would bring in money.
I think you should fight Hollywood Hogan, actually. That would be a better – Hogan could be the heel as Hollywood Hogan, and Austin could be the face.
So, and another one that I would have really, really liked to have seen was Brian Pillman in his – like when he was in his heyday, him taking on an AJ Styles. I think that would be – or a Brian Pillman versus a Jeff Hardy would be great. I think that'd be a really good one too. So let's catch up on the chat real quick, then we'll get back into it. You just broke my heart, Nathan. Shawn Michaels versus Jeff Jarrett match it in your house. Total classic when the roadie pulled Jarrett's leg thinking he got Shawn, and Shawn hit Jarrett with that super kick. Great match. Bret Hart and Kurt Angle would have been an amazing match. Macho Man and CM Punk would be, it'd be phenomenal.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Rock and HBK. Brutus the Barber Beefcake was never the IC champion. He wasn't.
No, he wasn't. Nope.
Did he have any time?
He was supposed to fight Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam 88, and then he got hurt in the boating accident. A tragic, almost tragic boating accident.
Do you remember when he came out as the masked man that had been attacking Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the word. It should have been Flair. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole. The franchise Shane Douglas. He definitely did. Rob Van Dam and Sting in their primes would have been amazing, too.
Absolutely.
So, all right, guys. Oh, that's another one. Ricky Steamboat and Sting. That's another one. So now we are up to number 8, and I will be starting us off with number 8, and this is my first of 3 females on my list, and she's been talked about already. The beautiful, the strong, the absolute genre-bending Lita. Amy Dumas, I think that's how you say her last name. She was beautiful. She was intimidating. She didn't back down from any man, but she was small. She was still the petite woman. Which to me, it doesn't matter. The next 2 women on my list are absolute monsters. But Lita just really, really made it so that the smaller women could be taken seriously in the business. Before her, you always looked at them like they were the Trish Stratus, where they didn't want to go against the men, or they were the beautiful Miss Elizabeth, the sensational Queen Sherry. Scary Sherry, like that was the women's division. And then Lita came along. And I feel like she really broke doors open with Trish Stratus. They all had their ways, but for me, it had to be Lita, and I think it's really unfortunate the WWE put her real life affair into the storyline. That I just, with Adam Copeland and Matt Hardy, like with Edge and Matt, like that just wasn't, the minute I seen they were putting that in the storyline, I just remember being like, this is weak. Like, this is really, really weak. Like, this has to be very unfortunate and very awkward for her. So, but that is neither here nor there because she is my number 8. It is Lita. What about you, Rob?
I want to add something about Lita, if I may.
Yeah.
I brought her up already in my honorable mention, but you got to remember, I think it was the first time in history, Lita and Trish, they main evented Raw. And that was the first women's match to ever hold the main event spot on Raw. And
yeah,
you mentioned breaking down boundaries. Like, that was the first time we saw women like close the show out, and that's awesome. You gotta give her props for that.
Well, WrestleMania Night 1, I feel like the best match on that card was the women's match.
Absolutely.
Yes, that was phenomenal.
It was amazing. Me and my son, we were in Chicago and we're watching.
Bianca Belair and or Becky Lynch, the one. That one, not
we were just blown away.
Charlotte.
This match is
Ronda Rousey.
Amazing.
You remember
they stole the show.
Belair and Banks stole the show. I thought. I mean, last year Belair and Banks stole the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I thought that was the best. That was my favorite match of the weekend was Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
Me too.
Yeah, it was great, man.
Yep. Yeah, you want to give us your number 8, Rob?
My number 8 is CM Punk. I feel like, he was the guy that, like, he came up from the indies. He didn't really have, like, the look that McMahon wanted, but I feel like his promos were awesome. He's an awesome wrestler. And he was like, he's like one of the, like, he had like that punk rock look that I love, and when he had the title, I felt like he was a great champion. He had it for like over 400 days. Nowadays, with social media and how everybody has a small attention span, he held that title for like 434 days or something like that. And I just thought his promos. My favorite promo was when he called out McMahon for not putting him in the main event, and he was bringing up Ring of Honor. He was bringing up the Underground Wrestling, and he actually like started bargaining with McMahon about his contract, like live on Raw. And it was almost wrestling got kind of kid friendly again at that point. And after I saw that, I was like, I've never seen anything that good since McMahon and Austin.
Yeah.
Like seeing CM Punk give it to McMahon like that, I was like, I've never seen anything that good since Austin McMahon. And so,
what about when CM Punk was about to fight Triple H, and he was like, "This isn't CM Punk talking to Triple H. This is Phil Brooks talking to Paul Levesque. I'm gonna kick your ass." I was like, "Oh yes!" Like,
that's good,
man. CM Punk had a way of making you believe this was all real. This was 100% real. There was nothing. Look, I've always hated the argument wrestling's fake. No, it isn't, because they have a scripted finish. These guys put their body on the line more than any other athletes for a long. They don't have an off season. And again, I'm not. Everybody knows I'm a huge baseball fan. Huge. My Tigers are actually up 3-1 on Boston right now. But these guys put their lives on the line every day, night in and night out. House shows, pay-per-views, Monday Night Raws, Friday Night SmackDowns. They're always going. And jump off that top rope and land on that mat every day and tell me that you're not fucked up. I stubbed my toe and I'm out for a week. Like, come on, man. Give these guys their due respect.
And you got it.
So, but CM Punk had a way of, no matter what was going on, you felt like it was real. Whatever was happening at that moment was real. This is the pipe bomb was amazing. That was amazing for the world of sports entertainment.
And I also want to say, like, he walked off for 7 years. His return to AEW that night, best return I've ever seen. There were grown men crying in the audience. Like, to have CM Punk come back to wrestling, I was like, this feels so awesome, dude. Like, and he's killing it. I think he's killing it in AEW today. Like,
just to be as brutally honest as he was, like, why would I go back to the place that made me sick?
Yeah, exactly.
Great promo. The guy knew how to cut a promo, and that was one of my favorite promos too. So what about number 8 for you, J-Dev?
Well, this guy I assume is on everybody's list, but one of the biggest stars in sports entertainment, although his career was kind of cut too short until WrestleMania. But I'm talking about the man. This is the only Austin shirt I have right now. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, the guy could do it all. He had a good look. He was good on the mic. He was pretty good worker in the ring. His catchphrases. I mean, there was one night, him and The Undertaker were in the ring. He's like, your stupid hair, your stupid vest, your stupid shirt, your stupid Mickey Mouse, your stupid pants. He just kept doing it, and then it gives the fans a chance to chant what. And then he paused for a second, and then Undertaker just kind of looks at him like, you could tell Mark Calloway wanted to laugh, and he's just like, what? His matches were really good, winning the title for the first time at WrestleMania 14 against the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. His return from the neck surgery in September of 2000, and then, of course, winning the Royal Rumble in 2001. I mean, he's done all his matches against The Rock at WrestleMania were classics. His many catchphrases. He has so many great catchphrases. I can't even name them all. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWE Hall of Famer, and just wrestled in main event at WrestleMania, 38. My number 8.
I was wondering where you went for a minute.
I did put the shirt on.
See, and I'm going to be honest with you. Stone Cold Steve Austin, not on my list.
Canceled.
And I will tell you why when we get to a certain part.
Oh, I might know why.
Why is that?
Because he was the wife thing with Deborah, where he beat Deborah up supposedly. I don't know if it's 100%.
No,
okay.
That I don't know the whole story behind that.
Me either.
So I can't talk about that.
I don't condone that either. So
no, but there's a reason, and you guys will know why.
All right.
The Hardy Boys versus Team 3D versus the Rocket Sock versus the New Age Outlaws TLC. That would be a great match. That would be an amazing match. Oh, you know what? That's a really good one. Brian Pillman versus Edge.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Their styles too.
Yes. Macho Man versus Roddy Piper. Kane. The man is a whole monster in the ring. Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania 19 was great. Very much a very good match. Three amazing women. Wahoo McDaniels, double tough, and the man would leave welts from his child. Oh, man, you knew it. Beth Phoenix, great choice. Two, sweet. I see you there, Brian. Goldberg, top 5 finishing move of all time. Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels. Shelton Benjamin versus D'Lo Brown. Very good choices.
I absolutely love Shelton Benjamin, by the way. He's in my top 25 for sure.
He's very underrated.
He's
everybody thinks about
gifted
Shelton
athletically,
Benjamin as
that's for
Royal
sure.
Rumbles, but the dude had a lot. Very athletic. Hey, look at this pretty girl. I used to like the Hardy Boys when I watched with my little brothers. I had a crush on Matt. Okay, I remember that.
All right.
I think it was Matt Hardy. I'll talk to him. I'll talk.
Ashley's canceled. I knew it. Nice.
I think AJ Styles is the best in-ring of all time. He can wrestle any style, no pun intended.
I would almost agree with that.
Alondra Blaze, she did the WWE Women's Championship belt drop in the trash in WCW's Medusa. Eric Bischoff has actually come to say he regrets that. Eric Bischoff said he regretted that decision. He thinks that's one of the things that he should not have done. But Ric Flair took the World Championship over to WWF way before then. So Greg Valentine versus Wahoo McDaniel. Glad you guys are having fun. Miss you all. We miss you too, babe. I wish you were home. You'd been, even though wrestling's not her thing, she definitely would have toughed it out to be with us if she would have been here. But it's nice having a guys' night.
You'll have a all right.
Greg Valentine versus Ronnie Garvin at Royal Rumble was good. Everybody saying hi to Ash. Nothing came about the injuries. Rick the Model Martel was never IC champion. That's another guy that was really good in his day. Was Rick the Model.
He was a tag team wrestler, champion with Strikeforce.
Yep.
With as Jesse Ventura would say, Chico Santana.
Yeah, Chico Santana. Big Boss Man was agile for a bit. That guy was out of Cobb County, Georgia.
I like Ray Trailer.
I don't know if he will. Time and money heals all wounds. I agree with you, but I don't know. Any channel that loves horror movies and wrestling is my favorite channel. We got the channels for you, my friend. And not only have you, if you haven't subscribed to Sledgehammer Horror, please do that. But also That Horror Couple and JDF TV. Their links are down in the description, so make sure you're checking them out as well. And thank you for being along for the ride. I don't know if I told you guys, but I was really nervous about this because this is the first time I've ever done a non-horror stream, and I'm having the time of my life. I'm having a lot of fun. I miss my wife. I wish she was here with us because she's always amazing to be around, but I'm having a lot of fun with you, gentlemen. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you.
Nobody can do what these amazing wrestlers do in the ring. I agree with you. Hardest thing in the world. The Rated R Superstar Edge. Bryan Danielson isn't going back. I don't think so either.
I bet he does.
Cold. You know what? The funniest part about Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens to me wasn't even anything that had to do with the match. Because, I mean, I was actually impressed with Steve Austin.
The stunner
and,
to McMahon.
what he was able to do.
Well, that wasn't
but the stunner to Vince McMahon on night 2 is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's funny, though.
Christian has great chemistry. You know what? Christian, another one. I'm glad that he went to TNA and he got the respect as Christian Cage to become a world champion and, be able to do that all over. Christian was always, you always look at the tag teams and you have the ones that are always head and shoulders, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. But with Christian and Edge, I know Edge obviously went on to have the better career, but Christian was no schlub. Christian showed that he could hold his own in the ring.
He can.
Jericho, Edge, Orton, Punk, KO, Triple H are the best modern heels. Hard to argue that. No Stone Cold. I know. Styles, Bryan, Cena, best faces. I hope she's still here. Ashley says, not even there, and I'm canceled. You're not canceled, Ash. I'll cancel her again. My number 7, 3D Dudley Boys. I hope you're including Spike on that list.
No, Spike's
Stunner to Vince was the worst stunner ever. I read in Brian. Oh yeah, he won't go back. He won't go back.
He will.
So now we are up to our number 7, and that would be Rob starting us off.
Roddy Piper. Absolutely one of the best talkers in the entire history of wrestling. He's so entertaining. His Piper Pit segments were legendary. He was one of the best at talking trash Like his promos were amazing. You know, and you'll go back to WrestleMania 1, and I really think it was a success because of Piper. I feel like if Hogan didn't have a villain, there's no show right there. He was a great heel. He talked trash to Mr. T, talked trash to Hogan. And most people, when they think of Piper, they remember him being a heel. And the funny part is he was only a heel for about a year and a half, a year. The rest of his career, he was a babyface, but he was such a memorable heel with Hogan that, you know, he has that reputation for being a loudmouth heel. But like Piper, man, and outside of wrestling, I love the movie They Live. I'm a huge fan of that movie. So Piper, man, he's one of the greatest ever.
I was gonna say he came to chew gum and kick ass, and he's all out of bubble gum.
Oh.
Classic.
What about you, J Dev? Who's number 7?
All right. Well, I just want to preface this. This person was on my list before recent tragedies. My number 7 is the bad guy, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall. I mean, as a huge NWO fan, that changed the game with him debuting on Nitro and him, Nash, and Hogan eventually forming what became the NWO. But man, for a guy 6'7", he could work and he can talk. And like Rob said earlier, the memorable catchphrases, hey, yo, hey, Chico, say hello to the bad guy. And the charisma, the look. I mean, Scott Hall, it sucks how his demons. And you had mentioned that John Cena is one of the best guys in the industry. I got to give a shout out to Diamond Dallas Page because we probably would have lost Scott Hall a lot earlier. And DDP is a classic, humble individual, and he's just as good as John Cena. But Hall, man, it sucks that we lost him. And he was on my list before this happened, but I have to have Scott Hall at number 7. And who knows, I might make him higher in my next ranking of wrestlers, depending on my mood. But
I respect the hell out of him. One of my favorite matches, in my top 10 favorite matches, WrestleMania 10. Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, ladder match.
Yep.
You know, and you got the bad guy coming out and walking under that ladder. That was
awesome.
And you got Mr. Perfect on commentary. Oh, that's bad luck, McMahon. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. So for my number 7, let me go to the top rope real quick and go over this elbow drop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage.
I've been thinking.
That guy, man. Oh, my gosh. You talk about a guy that could put on a show no matter who he's in the ring with. Him and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. We talked about him and Hogan, the mega powers exploding. There's so much about the Macho Man Randy Savage. The dude has a rap album. Let that sink in.
I'm going to get you, Hogan.
Be a man, Hogan. He's just like, and he's another guy that no matter who they put him in the ring with, you felt like you were watching someone that could potentially be the next superstar because Randy Savage made everybody that he got in the ring with look even better than they were. Him
even made the Ultimate Warrior look good.
Best at doing that. So yeah, for me, number 7, got to give it to the Macho Man. So catch up on that. I'm out of breath from jumping on the bed. Holy shit.
Nice.
Shane McMahon, not in my top 10, but he was a killer high flyer. Shane McMahon was another one of those guys that would just put his body on the line and not give a shit at all. Him and Kurt Angle, like that match was insane. Rob Van Dam. My number 7, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Mr. WrestleMania.
Yes, sir. Roddy Piper is the best heel of all time. They Live is in my top 5 favorite movies. If we're going by who I think my favorite heel of all time is, it probably would be 2 guys that aren't on my list, and that would be Ric Flair. I think Ric Flair was probably one of the best heels of all time.
Absolutely.
And the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase, I think you hated Ted DiBiase. Whether it was how he treated Virgil, whether it was how he, could buy everything. And I'll say,
everybody's got a price.
In history. What about when Virgil won the $1 million title?
Ooh.
Like, that was a huge moment for me. I loved that. Number 7, Bret Hart. Probably going to go with Kurt Angle. Stan Hansen, his lariat will take you down and you're not getting back up. Beautiful Bobby Eaton out there. I've been watching a lot of early NWA and SMW lately, and Bobby was the best all-around worker and could sell anything. A lot goes into being a professional wrestler, and I don't think a lot of people get that, but you're right. If you're not selling and it just doesn't work, you have to be able to sell. They Live is amazing. Number 7, The Undertaker. The look, his intro, he still reminds you of the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers with his gothic Victorian outfit. Rest in peace, Razor. You know what? I wish Razor would have got a world title run too, but the guy didn't need it. He was so over without it. It would have been nice to put that up on a mantle for him, but he was an amazing worker without it. And look at the effect he had on the industry, even without ever having a world title run. Everybody loved him. Everybody respected him, and he put on a great show every time. And if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the only people who's had a finisher that no one ever kicked out of. I believe nobody has ever kicked out of the Razor's Edge.
I never thought of it like that. Maybe.
Yeah, neither did I.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look it up, but I remember hearing that he's one of the only wrestlers that when they hit that finisher, no one ever kicked out. And I think that's amazing.
Okay.
Elizabeth, will you marry me? That was enough. My mom cried that night when Randy Savage proposed to Miss Elizabeth. No joke.
I still remember that
up there, Mom. I'm talking about you. She cried that night.
Yes.
I think we all
Styling,
did.
profiling, limousine, riding, jet, flying, kiss, stealing, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Woo! Yes, sir. God, you gotta love him. Savage and Steamboat, first match I ever watched as a kid. That's awesome. Jake Roberts was an underrated heel. Yes, he was. You remember when he brought out Damien and he bit Macho Man on the bicep when he was on the rope?
That wasn't Damien. That was the Cobra.
Cobra.
Damien was the Python.
Oh, okay. It was a Cobra.
Yeah.
Damn, here I am looking like a fucking idiot.
That's what made me think wrestling was real when they had a snake bite Macho. That was some scary shit, I must say.
No, dude, like I was legit scared at that moment. I'm like, oh my God, the snake bit him. Like he's biting him right now.
It was devenetized.
You couldn't get we are now up to our number 6, and that is J-Dev starting us off at number 6.
Well, I'm sure this guy's on everybody's list too, but I at times had a love-hate relationship with this wrestler. I remember my mom used to work at a daycare, after school program, and this hotter chick was there, and she'd always talk about, oh, I like wrestling too. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty are so great. And that kind of made me pay attention to Shawn Michaels too, because Becky would always talk about. But my number 6 is Mr. WrestleMania, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Although I was a big Bret Hart fan at times, so when the Hart Foundation reformed, I hated Shawn Michaels and Triple H and DX. But after Bret left, it was like, oh, I like Michaels again. Then he retired and whatnot. But I mean, the guy could talk. He looked good in the ring. He performed well, despite his mood at times. But I mean, he's amazing. You can't really say that much more about him that hasn't already been said. The guy is phenomenal. He should be like a 5-time Hall of Famer. He should be in for DX. He should be in for himself. He should be in as the Rockers. He should be in for the Clique. Yes, the Clique needs to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I don't know if there's anything else you can put in there, but Shawn Michaels is amazing. Mr. WrestleMania, my number 6.
Good choice.
Good one.
Probably too low. Did I get canceled yet?
No,
Okay.
Not too low.
All right.
Number 6 for me, the 9th wonder of the world, China. She held the Intercontinental title. She was a brute force. I remember her feud with Triple H. I thought that was great when she turned on him. Triple H is in that I Quit match with The Rock, and he's on the table with him about to pedigree him, and then Kane picks China up for that choke slam. Triple H, I quit. He gets in the ring. Him and China hug. She turns around and China hits him with that low blow and joins the corporation. Broke my little heart in pieces, man. But athletic ability. Again, we talk about demons. Rest in peace, Joni Lawyer. It's just it's really upsetting that her life took a turn the way it did. But I don't think there's anybody that can deny what a crucial moment she was. Even when she was in DX, and she never said a word. Every now and then, she gave a little suck it or mooned or whatever, but her presence was always known. And she really blew the door open for a lady that I'll be talking about here in a little bit. So number 6, I got to give it up to China. She competed with the women. She showed that the women could hang with the men. She eliminated men from the Rumble. She won the Intercontinental title. She broke barriers. So I'm definitely going with China for me at number 6. What about you, Rob?
Number 6 is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. There's no better heel. There's no better babyface promos, in-ring work. He's one of the best. The 4 Horsemen in the 80s. And he was world champion at a time when there were territories, and he traveled around like the country with the belt. Every territory he was in, he was champion. Flair is one of the best. One of the first names that come to my mind when I hear like WCW, NWA, Flair. It just Flair's the man. His promos, everything, all around, one of the best.
The king of the oversell.
Oh yeah, and he was one of the first guys I remember. Like you can go back to like the late '70s. He was good at talking shit. Like, dude, he's like, my shoes cost more than your house. Like I remember his back and forth with Dusty Rhodes was amazing. Like he was like one of the first wrestlers that like got personal. I remember in a promo that like would physically insult you, assault your appearance. Like this is like late '70s we're talking. He was good at talking trash.
Yeah.
Talking Space Mountain and how he would bang all these different chicks. Like he was hilarious. He was
He
funny.
knew what time it was, man. He knew what people wanted to hear.
And quick story, I did meet Ric Flair before at a bar, and the guy literally acts just like he does on TV. Takes his jacket off, elbow drops it, knee drops it. Ask me, how many of these cocktail waiters do you think are coming up on my room tonight? I'm like, I don't know, Rick. He's like, all of them. Woo! It was hilarious.
Man.
He was so very hyperactive, but cool as hell. I used to not like Flair because he was too old, in my opinion, at the time. Wrestling, this was 2004 in October, but I had a lot of respect for him that day after meeting him, and Triple H, Batista, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, Evolution was great.
Yeah, that was a great stable when you had Flair, Hunter, Orton, Batista, the past, the present, and the future, baby. I loved it.
That Motorhead badass too. I love that Motorhead.
Oh, rest in peace, Lemmy too.
Yeah.
Number 6 is The Undertaker, Kane. My number 6, the man who was larger than life, Andre the Giant. Number 6, the British Bulldog. Another one who, 2 things about the British Bulldog. 1, so unfortunate he never held world gold. And 2, his heel turn when he turned on Diesel was one of the most shocking heel turns I can ever remember. It was British Bulldog and Diesel versus Mabel and Mo. And British Bulldog turned on Diesel that night on Monday Night Raw, and the world was shocked.
I'm not remembering that. That's not coming to mind. But
oh man, that one, it blew me away.
Okay.
Yes, China is an absolute legend. Number 6, the Boogeyman. Used to scare the oh yeah, when he had the worms coming out.
I'm the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
Yes. Arn Anderson. The man was a workhorse and felt a lot like Steve Austin back in the day, and he'd tap you out for real. Arn Anderson didn't give no shits. Ted DiBiase would make one of the audience think he or she would get some money. Ted would make fun of them after messing with them at the end. Yeah, like he was a dick, man. Hey, Mika. Had to say hi and just jump in. China was my all-time fave. What she did for women's wrestling was absolutely. She absolutely does. I agree. Oh, yeah. China was freaking amazing. I cried when I heard she passed away, and I watched Russo's tribute to her on his channel. Yeah, it was upsetting. China's awesome. Vader, he just dominated. You know what? I love that promo when they were talking in another country and Vader got arrested because he assaulted the guy. He's like, is this fake? Is this fake? Like, that was great, man. Jeff Jarrett, yes. You know what? Remember when it was Jericho when he hit China's hand with the hammer and broke her hand. I remember, that's another thing I remember. Ricky Steamboat, yeah, it's a poor thing, man. Mick Foley when Taker threw him off the cage. I will say this too about British Bulldog. We went to a house show in Toledo, Ohio, and we were standing at the entrance, and the British Bulldog kept poking his head out. He had a little squirt gun. He was squirting me and my little brother, and he'd go back in.
Nice.
He'd come out and he'd squirt me and my little brother, and it was just the coolest thing, man. When it comes to crowd interaction, that was really cool. And remember the Bushwhackers, man? How they used to lick kids on the head? That was so awesome.
I
man.
can't stand the Bushwhackers. Sorry.
I loved them.
Hated them. When they got announced to be in the Hall of Fame, like, this Hall of Fame is a joke. They should be in the Hall of Fame more for the Sheepherds in AWA.
The Sheep Herders. They were like a hardcore wrestlers back in the day, though, dude.
Yeah.
So number 5 for me, I just talked about how China busted the door open, and one of the most underutilized women in professional wrestling, in my opinion, is coming in at number 5 for me. That is my favorite current female superstar, and that is Miss Rhea Ripley. I look at Rhea Ripley, and I see a phenomenal athlete. I see a physical specimen. I see someone that is just intimidating, just an intimidating force. And I think that Rhea Ripley really could be what China was in the Attitude Era if she's given the right type of push by the WWE. And Every time she's out there, I'm very impressed. Her run in NXT was impressive. It was great. I loved her run in NXT. I'm hoping to see some more gold on her waist sometime in the future. So coming at number 5, halfway through my list, is Rhea Ripley. What about you, Rob?
Number 5 is The Undertaker. One of the greatest of all time. I remember being like 5, 6 years old, seeing Hogan go down to the tombstone and Undertaker had the title. And I'm just reminded of this year when he finally made it into the Hall of Fame. And I'm just reminded, I'm like, yo, I've been watching this guy for 30 years. And if that gimmick, I really believe if that gimmick was given to anybody else, it would have been done in like a year, tops. I feel like he has the ability to be entertaining, to reinvent himself with Undertaker, American Badass, all the different variations of it over the years. His undefeated streak at WrestleMania, for me, I was looking more forward to that than the title match half the time. To me, that the streak was more important to me than watching the world title match. And probably my favorite match of his is Michaels and Taker, WrestleMania 25. Mm-hmm. I don't know which way it was going to go. I thought maybe the streak would have ended. It was one of those matches. Like I was jumping out of my seat. One of the best matches I've ever seen is Taker and Michaels, WrestleMania 25. And it was so good to see him in the Hall of Fame this year. He's definitely worthy. One of the greatest of all time. He's on the Mount Rushmore of like the top for me. I feel like he's one of the best ever.
When it comes to the impact they've had in the industry, Undertaker has to be in the top 3. Has to be. And another part to that argument, flip that coin. If anybody else had played that except Mark Calloway, would it have worked? But however, if Mark Calloway did not have Paul Bearer in his corner, would that have worked to start off? Because
I don't think
Paul
so.
Bearer, I think, is one of the best managers of all time.
Absolutely.
My Undertaker. Like, yes, and he sold it, man. Like he sold that. So great choice, brother. What about you, J-Dev? What's number 5?
Well, I just talked about Shawn Michaels and my love for the Hart Foundation, so I hated him. So my number 5 is the excellence of execution, Bret the Hitman Hart. I mean, the guy was extraordinary with the team when he teamed with the Anvil and the Hart Foundation, and then he became this like, oh, we kind of like Bret. The fans kind of relate to Bret Hart, so they made him a single star. He became the Intercontinental Champion, and then in a non-televised match, he beats Ric Flair and becomes the heavyweight champion of the world. And he did a lot. He truly is one of the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Back in the day, he was pretty solid on the mic. Nowadays, he stumbles his words. We all do when we get older, though. But I loved Bret Hart. And when he was the heel at that time, except in Canada, man, the Hart Foundation, him, Bulldog, Brian Pillman, and Owen, rest in peace, Owen Hart, they drew some great heel heat. So Bret the Hitman Hart is my number 5. Probably canceled because it's too low by some people in the chat, which I'm kind of paying attention to here and there.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's our number 5s. I'm going to catch up on the chat real quick. Mick Foley, when Taker threw him off the cage. Oh, I already did that. Rey Mysterio, booyaka, booyaka. Trish Stratus. Didn't think Rhea Ripley would be here. Love it. Yep.
Neither did I. That was a surprising one for me.
Yeah, I love it. I love her to death, dude. I think she's great.
Did not know that.
I think she's phenomenal. I watch her in-ring ability, and I'm like, wow, she's got it. She's got the look. She's got the moves. Like, she just needs that push.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. Nature Boy. Chainsaw Charlie. Oh, my gosh. That's
Very fun.
Awesome. Number 5, Mankind, Mick Foley. His Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker when he wrestled his Cactus Jack versus Triple H. That was another really good one.
Royal Rumble 2000. That was a crazy match.
Yeah, it was. I got to agree about Ripley, but and Charlotte's not bad. I hate how, it's just Ric Flair's daughter. Charlotte's a great worker. Charlotte is
one of the best ever.
Worker. The worst thing about Charlotte is her last fucking name. Because now people think it gets handed to her when really she's worked her ass off to be where she's got to be.
Yep.
Ronda Rousey, huge fan of this woman. She's worked hard to get where she is and now in women's wrestling. I would love, Ashley, if you're still watching, baby, I'd love you. I wouldn't trade you for anything. But I would love to date Ronda Rousey. I just think it would be fun,
Canceled.
About it. Like, I could talk shit to anybody. They hit me, I'd be like, I'm going to get my girlfriend. You're fucked up. You fucked up. Like that would be me all the time. So Ronda Rousey's a bad bitch. I would be scared of her. Ashley could take her, though. Rhea is underrated. Don't know why they had Charlotte beat her. Again, Charlotte's a good worker, period. Charlotte is a great worker. Canceled. Brett's my number one. Just going to spoil my number one since we're talking about Brett. We'll talk about Brett again.
Yep.
Not in the way you're thinking. Here's a possible list. Top wrestlers that really need a manager to get over better. You know what? There are wrestlers that
Ronda
don't
Rousey
need a manager. But, I mean, look at what Paul Heyman did for Brock Lesnar. He didn't need Paul Heyman. But look what he did. Roman Reigns. He doesn't need Paul Heyman. But you put a good manager on somebody, and it can make a great wrestler better. I mean, look at Shawn Michaels had Queen Sherry for a while. She sang his theme song when it first came out. You know? So, I mean, like, you can put them with anybody. If you put a great manager with a great performer, good things are going to happen. Number 4, Terry Funk. Number 5, Shawn Michaels, Sweet Chin Music. Tuning up the band, baby. So number 4, Rob, you want to start us with number 4?
Yes. He had to make the list, and I grew up being a Hulkamaniac. I'm going to say Hulk Hogan. He's the reason I started watching. And you don't have to be a wrestling fan. You don't have to watch wrestling. If you hear the name, you know exactly who he is. You know exactly what he does. He's a household name. He changed the whole history of wrestling. And honestly, he's not just a legendary babyface. I would argue he's a legendary heel too. I thought Hollywood Hogan was amazing. I love Hollywood Hogan. He was a great bad guy.
Absolutely.
I don't even know where this. I mean, we need Hogan there. Without Hogan, it wouldn't be the same. It just wouldn't. That name is. He's on.
I think the Hollywood Hogan gimmick was so successful because of how real and perfect Hulk Hogan was. You know, drink your milk, say your prayers, take your vitamins. You know, like he was our hero. You know, and then he came out and he was joining up with the guys from up north in the NWO. You're like, what? No way, this guy's a bad guy. I idolized him. So I think that's a big reason why the Hollywood Hogan persona went over so well.
Yeah. Wasn't the best wrestler, though, in the ring, but he got over because his promos were great. He had a good look, and he was good at working the crowd. He was, whether he was a babyface or heel. You know, he was good. So
for sure. Grandma Penny, I love you. She was a Hulkamaniac till she died. She cried when Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. I'll never forget that.
I did too.
How about you, Jay Deb? What's number 4 for you, brother?
Well, this is a wrestler that not many people would include in their top 10, but I absolutely loved this guy. He's more of a character. His wrestling abilities, not the greatest. His promo skills were decent, although he'd fuck up sometimes. But the quote when he returned, when Heath Slater was challenging legends, "I rule the world." Psycho Sid to me was awesome. I don't know why I loved this guy, except when he went to play softball and would leave all the time. But Sid to me is one of the most underrated big men. And man, what the hell when at Uncensored, I think it was, when he fractured his against Scott Steiner. And he was rumored to be in the Hall of Fame this year, so I suspect he'll be in there next year. But I think Sid is an underrated guy. Great look, entertaining. And when he powerbombed Shawn Michaels that night, when he turned on Michaels, I think when Michaels essentially was made a face because of Sid, I think he's awesome. He doesn't get enough notoriety. I know you can cancel me all you want, whoever wants to, but I had to put Sid as my number 4, ahead of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Dude, he powerbombed Shawn like 6 times that night before Diesel came out to save him.
Yep.
And I love how his theme song had like the
I love that theme so much.
Yes,
that's part of the reason why I like his character so much, is his theme.
When he hit Jose Lothario with that camera and then beat Shawn Michaels with that, I mean, you could see the crowd lose wind because Sid got over on Shawn Michaels in Survivor Series.
Deb, do you remember Royal Rumble 92 when Sid eliminated Hogan and the crowd was cheering for and they were booing Hogan?
Yeah, that was back when it was Sid Justice.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the
I specifically like Psycho Sid more than Sid Vicious and Sid Justice. And he took a scissors to Arn Anderson, and that's why he was named Psycho.
With Arn Anderson.
Yep.
Fuck, man. All right. So I think that's. Oh no, I got to do my number 4. My number 4 shows that little guys can take over the world, and that is Daniel Bryan. The Yes Movement, one of the biggest movements in wrestling in the last 20 years.
Why is Jay Deb? Oh,
because he did that too.
Oh, okay.
But he said no. I honestly don't like Daniel Bryan as much, but I like to play around with the mannerisms stuff. But
well, I mean, and the thing is, like, that's how I feel like when he was in the ring, he was just so much fun to watch, and his wrestling ability was great, and the way that he could get over with the crowd was just amazing. And for him to come out and try for so long and then finally capture the world title, I'm glad he's fought his way back to being in the ring again. My heart was broke when he had to retire. You knew that he had tried so hard to get back, whether it was from when he was Bryan Danielson in the minors, and then he comes up and he's part of NXT and he chokes somebody out and he gets fired.
Nexus.
Or Nexus when he did the Nexus thing. And
Justin
then
Roberts when he
fired,
choked him.
and then he comes back, and it's just huge. Part of Team Raw with John Cena, Team WWE,
and Bret Hart.
There was just so many things about Daniel Bryan that I thought would be amazing, and it's a bummer that his WWE run ended the way that it did, but he'll always be up there for me. Obviously, he's number 4, so he meant a lot to me.
Very cool.
So we will catch up on the chat real quick before we give out our bronze medal. I lie, I cheat, I steal. The guy that could make being the heel look good, Eddie Guerrero. Another guy that no matter who he's in the ring with, he made him look good. What's up, Ashton? How you doing, buddy? Staying number 4 for me. Wrestling wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. I agree. Ric Flair. Number 4, Chris Benoit. I still think there's something fishy about the Benoit murders. If you look into the whole thing, the whole case was never looked into properly. I don't think he did it. It's a heavy situation.
Yeah,
man.
touchy subject there.
Yeah, because if he did,
Heard that.
fuck the guy. If he didn't, that sucks. That he's had to, his name's been tarnished forever. But
Ken, you're not supposed to mention his name.
yeah. Oh shit, I gotta blur that out.
Yeah.
Triple H, loved him in DX, loved him on his own killer theme music, and his matches were always fucking awesome.
He gave us
Number 3, huh?
He also gave us NXT.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
Yep.
Hulk Hogan for me, the man was a household name and probably got. You know what? I don't think, besides maybe The Rock, I don't think there'll ever be a wrestler as big as Hogan was ever.
You think Cena's as big as Hogan?
I don't. I maybe.
But
maybe now.
I think he has. He's lasted longer than Hogan in terms of how many matches he
now
did.
because he's even bigger in Hollywood now than Hogan ever was. But when it came to being a pro wrestler, I think The Rock and Hogan were probably the 2 biggest pro wrestlers of all time.
Cena's been on top for over a decade. Like, he's not my favorite, but he's held that main event spot for over a decade. Like I don't think Hogan was on top that long, or
I think the big thing is Hogan did it with politics. Cena did it because he was an amazing physical specimen.
Yeah, true.
Madison Rain. This girl is snappy, feisty, and never takes shit from absolutely anyone. Yeah, she's up there. I knew Daniel was going to pick the Ultimate Warrior. Shaking those ropes. That dude was amazing. Oh, my God. The Shockmaster. The worst day in WCW history.
Fred Ottman.
Tugboat.
Yeah.
Tugboat, baby. Woo-hoo. Brian Danielson for CM Punk would be a good match today. I'd love to see it. Think about this 2 numbers straight. WWE rejected the winners 14 and 15 because Daniel Bryan didn't win. I'll never forget about that. He was the biggest babyface since Austin crowd-wise. I agree. I absolutely agree. So now we are up to our bronze medal, our number 3, and that'll be my boy J-Dev starting us off. What's your number 3, J-Dev?
Well, surprisingly enough, this wrestler, I read a magazine at the convenience store I was working at the time, and it said like the up-and-comers at the back page. One of them was Brock Lesnar, and the other guy was Randy Orton. And from that moment, I loved Randy Orton. Now, personally, I think they should have brought Orton and Lesnar in as members of the NWO to keep that faction going. But hey, It worked out it would have been great. 2 up-and-comers being added to the NWO, a bunch of old guys that keep getting hurt. So Randy Orton, I mean, the guy has done it all, and he keeps doing it all. He's still full-time. Now, there's been times where he's gotten stale, but his run with Matt Riddle and RK Bro, those tag team matches, especially with Chad Gable going, shoosh, fucking hilarious. And it's like entertaining. Like those tag team matches are entertaining. And Orton has done so much in his career at being an excellent worker. He's a locker room leader now, which nobody would have thought back in the day.
Right.
Great heel, tremendous heel, great look. I loved when he retained the title at WrestleMania 24 when Cena had come back at the 2008 Rumble and won it. He thought he was going to beat Orton, and then Orton retained. I absolutely loved it. And I mean, I don't know why my love of Randy Orton started by looking at a magazine, but I never looked back. When he beat the guy that killed his wife and his kid at SummerSlam 2004 to become the youngest heavyweight champion of all time, or world champion, whatever belt it was, it's awesome. Randy Orton, far and away my number 3, and when it's all said and done, he might be my number 2, but I don't know if he'll be my number 1.
Well, and the thing about Orton is, when it comes to a gimmick, the Legend Killer was one of the best things that's ever happened. Because you were always wondering, is he going to actually go over on this guy? Is he going to do it? And I loved the Legend Killer. I thought that was great.
One of my favorites when Orton attacked Piper because of the history with Piper and his father.
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool. Like he took out the guy that was like his dad's right-hand man. So I thought that was really cool.
Yep. So my number 3, it's clobbering time.
Oh boy.
CM Punk.
Nice.
The best in the world. We were talking about him earlier when he was cutting promos, the pipe bomb and doing all that. Like that was a moment where I really became a fan of professional wrestling again. I wasn't watching at that time. I was kind of watching out of habit, like this is what I do on Mondays. This is what I do on Fridays. I was watching out of habit. That really brought me back in. It was like, oh my God, like when he was delivering that pipe bomb and then they shut his mic off there at the end, you're like, what? I need to tune in next week. I have to be here to watch this. When he took the title off John Cena in Chicago,
Money in the Bank.
You got the image of him holding the title and blowing a kiss to Vince McMahon and jumping that barricade. And how we talked about, he left for 7 years. He comes back and it's like he never skipped a beat. That's it. He's back and he's great. He's being a really big influence for a lot of the younger guys. There's not enough good things that I can say about CM Punk. And I liked his new horror movie that came out. I thought it was dope.
Very good. He was very good.
Yeah. So for me, number 3, CM Punk. What about you, Rob?
My number 3, and I struggle with this because I like this wrestler so much, and I think he is one of the best technically, but he lacks. I'll explain it. But my Bret the Hitman Hart, hands down, I think he's the best technical wrestler in history. He changed the game for me as far as like after the whole like Hulk Hogan era where guys were big and they were jacked.
Yeah,
he kind of changed it when they put the title on him. It was more about the wrestling, and it was like I don't think Bret Hart ever had a bad match. I can't find one bad Bret Hart match. He wrestled every match as if he was like it was like the main event. I mean, he was just always so fun to watch. The reason why he's not my number 1 is I do feel like he lacked in promos and personality a little bit on the mic. I just feel like he wasn't the best promo, but I feel like nobody could touch him as far as in-ring work goes. He's the best. And he, like I said, he changed the game. It wasn't about how big are you anymore. It was about how good a wrestler are you. Mm-hmm. And he was the guy that did it. I thought when Vince gave him the title in like 94, I think it was 93, I thought he was a great world champion. And he was taking out baby faces. And I never saw that back then growing up. Like if you put on Wrestling Challenge or Superstars, he was taking out baby faces, and that kind of went against the grain, but like it was just always great matches. Always.
We were just talking about WrestleMania 10. How about that show starting with Owen beating Bret? And that was Bret beating Yokozuna to win that title. And then you got all the wrestlers coming out and hoisting Bret up, and then Owen standing at the entrance ramp, and Macho Man inviting him down to the ring, and Owen just standing there in disbelief. Another amazing, amazing moment in professional wrestling history.
Absolutely.
Match in SummerSlam, which was another great one between Owen and Bret. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bret was great.
What about the Davey Boy Bret Hart match at SummerSlam in '92? And when
that was another one. The one Davey Boy came out on top in that one, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
With Bret tried to do the sunset flip, and Davey Boy got him with the roll up.
Bret put a lot of people over.
Yeah,
a lot.
He did.
I saw an interview with Bret, and he talked about the Davey Boy match you just talked about, and he said Vince realized from watching that Bret could be the closer. Bret could be my main event guy. He said that he put Davey Boy over, but it was his big moment because that made Vince want to put him in the main event picture for the world title. And they did steal the show that night. Like, that's what I mean. Technically, nobody could touch Bret. Technically, he was better than everybody. Like,
and just like how we were just talking a little bit ago, that was when the IC title was prestigious.
yeah,
You reached for the IC title. Before we get into our number 2, I want to catch up on the chat real quick. Number 3, The Rock, the best on the mic, hands down of all time. Number 3, Rhea Ripley. Number 3, give me a hell yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Orton is the man, love him. Number 3, if you smell, yes sir, Papa Shango. Wasn't that the Godfather?
Yeah. And the Supreme Fighting Machine.
The Rock, funniest wrestler ever. He'll take you down the street, the SmackDown Boulevard. Or no, was it Know Your Role Boulevard? Check you into the SmackDown Hotel. CM Punk is the GOAT. For me, Randy as well. You guys reinvented themselves. Yeah, for sure. Number 3 is The Rock. Number 3, Mandy Rose. She's down to earth, has the best confidence in herself, and can play dirty when she wants. Number 2, Eddie Guerrero. He had the 2 out of 3 falls. ECW with Dean Malenko. Eddie knew how to work a crowd. Whether he was a heel or a face, he could make you love him or make you fucking hate him. And he had that ability. Andre the Giant. The man was just a legend and earned the title of 8th Wonder of the World for me. And the guy had an uncanny ability to rhyme if you watch The Princess Bride. CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, WrestleMania 28. Feud and matches in my top 5 anything wrestling. Yeah. Chris Jericho and CM Punk knew what they were doing. Woo! Styling and profiling, baby. Bret Hart, definitely top 3. Nathan, the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, the best in the present, future, and past. And if you don't like me, you can kiss the people's ass. Yes, The Rock. Nobody will ever touch The Rock on the mic, in my opinion. Cena's close, but Rock was just the best. Chris Jericho feuding with Dean Malenko. That was a great feud. I was talking about that a little bit ago when Jericho unmasked Juventud Guerrero and it ended up being Malenko underneath there. That was great. True story. I haven't told anybody this yet, but we met John Moxley at Horror Hound, and we met him at like 10:30 in the morning. And the dude was wasted, like completely trashed out of his mind, and I felt bad. I was like, hey, and he was like, hey. You could smell it on him. I was like, hope you have a great time, buddy. You know, like, if Owen hadn't been killed, he would have absolutely been a world champion. 100% would have been a world champion. One of the most unfortunate incidences in the history of wrestling. Number 2, thanks, J-Dev. I appreciate you, buddy.
No problem.
Yes, J-Dev. All right, so let's get into number 2, and that will be me starting this off with number 2. The person coming at number 2 for me is not good. He's not great. He's not amazing. It's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, I think I know.
What is it?
Is it perfect?
He's perfect. That's what he is.
Wow,
Kurt
number
Hennig,
2.
Mr. Perfect.
Nice.
The dude could cut promos. The dude, when he lost, look at the match that he had with Bret Hart. When he lost the IC title to Bret Hart. That was one of the best technical wrestling matches I've ever seen in my entire life. And Kurt Hennig and Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart in the same ring at the same time in the prime of their careers. What a match. And we talk about guys that were great on the mic. Mr. Perfect was great on the mic. And I talked about it earlier with Scott Hall. You didn't have to put a world title on him for him to be amazing. And that's how I feel about Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. You didn't have to put the world title on that guy. But he stole the show. Even when he jumped ship to WCW, and he wasn't wrestling much. He was a part-timer due to injuries. But when he came in, you knew good things were going to happen the minute you saw Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, jumping in there. He never needed a world title to be great. It would have been nice to see one on him, just like with Scott Hall. It would have been a nice thing to see. But he didn't need it. The guy was phenomenal. He was great. I loved him as a kid. I was genuinely upset when he died. He mentored Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's talked often about the impact that Kurt Hennig had on him and his career. So I definitely got to say, number 2 for me, the perfect man, the perfect wrestler, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect.
Excellent choice, Ken.
It was
Love
a good choice. There's another story about that match that he had with Brett, where he put Brett over for the title. He was in severe like back pain that day. I saw like an interview with Brett. His back was out, and he was supposed to like take time off. And then he heard that the match is with Brett, so he said, "I'll be there. I'll put you." Like he showed up in pain, and he put on that match with a terrible back, and that match is like a top-notch match.
That to me is the type of man that Kurt Hennig was.
Yeah.
Like I said, Brock Lesnar's gone on record saying that too. Like, I wouldn't be where I am in this business if it weren't for Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. He made me the man and wrestler that I am, and that's saying a lot. So, what's your silver medal, Rob? Who's coming in number 2 for you?
The People's Champion, eyebrow raising, Brock. I feel like you said before, nobody could touch him. I feel like he's a third generation wrestler. It's in his blood. Great wrestler, and I felt like the Attitude Era, he was holding it down. He was the man. Even today, outside of Hollywood, I mean, he's successful with his movies and everything, and he's one of those names too. I feel like, just like I mentioned Hogan before, a lot of times when you say The Rock now, people that aren't even wrestling fans know who he is. Like he's the man. Like he's definitely in the top 3. He's got to be.
Look at how many followers he has on Instagram and Twitter. Lots.
Oh, do you remember when he was heel, when he came back and he was like a famous like movie star?
Oh yeah,
that? He was talking to his 8 phone in like the middle of a promo. Do you remember that?
And that's when he put Brock Lesnar over.
I thought that was hilarious though. He's like, "I'll be back." He's like, "Hang on a second."
That's amazing. So how about you, J-Dev? Who comes in at number 2 for you?
Well, I had mentioned that I had cried at WrestleMania 6. But I didn't cry because Hulk Hogan lost the match. I cried because I thought Hogan was going to win the match. I was at my friend Steven's house watching the pay-per-view. Big Hulk Hogan fan. I did not like Hogan. Hollywood Hogan's a different story. And the Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior, is he got the leg drop, and he misses the leg drop. Hogan does. And then he does the splash real quick. And I couldn't believe that the Warrior beat Hogan. Is he the greatest in-ring performer of all time? Hell no. Except against Macho Man. He put a good match on with Randy Savage at WrestleMania 7. But man, the Warrior, he wasn't even the greatest promo guy, but for some reason, I just always loved the Warrior. It's sad when he died. Luckily, he got into the Hall of Fame and had a speech and waited to pass a few days later. He kept like grabbing his heart during that. I don't know if there was an issue that night. If you watch it, he kept going like that. I don't know if his chest was tight or something like that. But I mean, the Warrior was just great. Comes sprinting down to the ring. His theme music, I think, was one of the things about him. His theme music is awesome. Definitely in the top 10 of all-time theme musics, for me at least, along with some other theme musics. But I love the Warrior. One of my favorite Warrior moment for sure, beating Hogan at WrestleMania 6. That will go down as one of my favorite wrestling moments of all time. So Ultimate Warrior, my number 2. And Daniel, I told Daniel, you might see him on my list. I knew he was going to be at number 2 all along.
I can't wait to see who you got at number 1.
You're going to be shocked.
My number 2, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. Number 2, John Cena. Number 2, If You Smell. Yeah, definitely the all-time greatest talker. Number 2, Randy Savage, top 5 wrestler. Oh, yeah. Jake says Sting. I'm glad you're out, Jake. Thanks for coming out, buddy. The Rock. He'll always be a heel and a face, and the fans would, he was either Edge or Jericho. I can't decide. Maria Kanellis, very nice, very underrated diva. Aw, thanks, guys. Where's Sammy Guevara?
That's Kaylee over there.
I knew she.
There's a thing for Guevara, man.
Thanks, Charles. I'm going to mention the Miz. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. He's already a great heel. I was waiting for Daniel. I was waiting for it. Top 10 entrance themes. My number 1's coming up, and that's also my favorite entrance theme.
I know who your number 1 is, I think.
I think you do too. But we'll wait till we get there. Oh my gosh. That match was crazy. Stone Cold. My number 1 was a 3-way tie. All right. So now we are at our number 1. So if you wouldn't mind, Rob, give us your honorable mentions all the way down to your number 1, my friend.
Okay, my honorable mentions. Andre the Giant. Lita. Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Sting, Adam Cole, and then it breaks into my top 10, which is Mick Foley coming to 10. 9 is Chris Jericho. 8 is CM Punk. 7 is Piper. 6 is Ric Flair. 5 is Undertaker. 4 Hogan. 3 Bret Hart. And 2 The Rock.
And your number 1?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I got it. That's what I figured his was.
I feel like, dude, like the Attitude Era, you needed like he held it down. He's a badass. He can cut a promo. You name it, he could do it, man. He's a great wrestler. He's a great promo cutter. And I swear, just this WrestleMania that passed, I feel like he still gets the crowd. He still stole the show. And I'm sure you guys can remember, dude, when that glass shattered, the goosebumps on top of goosebumps, dude. I mean, everybody screaming. I saw him live so many times. I've never seen a reaction like that. Austin kicks ass, dude. And I still love watching this podcast to this day. Steve just loves wrestling, man. He loves, like, Steve Austin loves wrestling. I just feel like he's my favorite wrestler of all time, and it would not be the same without him. And I don't think the Attitude Era, I mean, who could have been on top? It was Austin and The Rock, which was so special because we had 2 guys on top. But I don't know who else could have taken those 2 spots. I don't know who else could have done it. And Austin did it very well. He held it down, man.
Yep, he really did. And he looked really good at WrestleMania. Like, he took some bumps outside the ring on the concrete. Like, I was not expecting that. Good for him. And you know what? Kevin Owens could have been one of my honorable mentions. I think that he's somebody that really loves the business. So it was nice to see him go and, really. I know that Austin won, but he really did put Owens over. He made Owens look really, really good against him. So I got to give Steve some respect for that. So what about you, J. Dev? Honorable mentions up to number 1.
All right. Well, if I would, I could have done 20 honorable mentions real quick, but they're not in order necessarily. These first 2, I did my favorite tag team of all time, Legion of Doom. My favorite female performer / diva, whatever you want to call her, Sunny, despite her recent legal issues. And my number 11 would be Brock Lesnar. Number 10, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Number 9, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. Number 8, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know I should be canceled. That's kind of low for him. Number 7, Scott Hall. And he was on the list before he died. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Number 6, the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. Number 5, Bret the Hitman Hart. Number 4, surprisingly enough, Psycho Sid. Number 3, Randy Orton. Number 2, the Ultimate Warrior. And my number 1, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. Whoa, what are you doing over there, Kid Sled? You make The Rock mad. You jabroni bean pie, eating trailblazing, raising best in the future, man. The Rock is the most amazing performer.
That was awesome.
In the WWE. He is awesome. I mean, his mic work, his promos, his in-ring ability, his selling ability. I mean, come on, man. I admit, Austin Theory sold the Stunner pretty damn good, but man, you watch The Rock sell the Stone Cold Stunner in my favorite match of all time at WrestleMania 17, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, my favorite pay-per-view of all time, by the way. I mean, The Rock did it all, whether he was a heel, whether he was a face, he was the man. And it's at times he didn't even seem like the number 1 guy because you always had Austin. And then when Austin left in 2000, Triple H kind of took over the reins. So The Rock, in my opinion, was never really the top guy, even though he should have been. But without The Rock, I don't think Stone Cold Steve Austin gets to where he is. He might have started where he is, but he wouldn't have maintained what he had. His moves, awesome stuff. I mean, I really have no bad things to say about The Rock. And the fact that you talk about John Cena being one of the nicest guys, you run into Rock, he'll give you the time of day. He'll pull up in his truck and videotape you. How you guys doing? The Rock's awesome if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
He'll also break his finger and snap it back into place on camera, which was insane to watch.
I want to add to J-Dev's point. Austin and The Rock, they headlined WrestleMania three times. Yep. There's no feud in history that did that.
Right.
They were on top, main eventing WrestleMania. So, I mean, that's really something.
So amazing. So, man, gentlemen, I've had a great time with you tonight. I'm going to recap my list real quick. My honorable mentions were Flying Brian Pillman, the badass Billy Gunn, and Chris Jericho. Number 10, I had Sting. 9, Jeff Hardy. 8, Lita. 7, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. 6, the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna. Number 5, Rhea Ripley. 4, Daniel Bryan. 3, CM Punk. 2, Mr. Perfect. And coming to the ring at my number 1,
Shawn
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy.
I got the looks that
You
drive
knew
the
it was
ladies
coming.
wild. Got the moves that really move them. I'm sorry, I'll shut up now.
Michael.
gotta hit that. That's Shawn Michaels, man. There is no better finisher in the world.
Wants to fight. Oh.
I'm sorry. I love you. Shawn he was it for me, man. Like, he was that guy, WrestleMania 12, the boyhood dream. Even before that, watching him win the Royal Rumble, coming in at number 1, when he's holding onto that rope, and he's barely got his leg up there in 1995. And then he's the first one to win back-to-back Rumbles, if I'm not mistaken.
95, 96.
But, as a kid, if I was watching Shawn Michaels right now, I'd probably despise the guy because of the way that he buried people. But as a kid, I loved this guy. I thought that he was where it was at. I loved him with the Rockers. And I actually really loved his last run when he didn't want to win any championships. He was part of DX. They were having fun. But all he really, really wanted to do was put people over. He wanted to make up for bullshit that he had done with Taker and bullshit that he had done with Hart. He's clean, he's sober, married, family man. He found God. He wanted to come back and do a bunch of stuff for, all these other people so that we kind of make up for all the bullshit he did. I absolutely love Shawn Michaels. I think that to this day, I'm still bummed that he's not around, but he'll always be number 1 to me. So before we go, we're going to catch up on the chat. If you guys have any questions for me, for Rob, for JDev, and I have a special announcement at the end about a stream that will be coming up soon. So I wanted to tell you that as well.
Ooh.
Ashley was singing Sean's entrance. She was like, I know who your number 1 is. And I was like, who? And she was like, you think you're cute? I was like, okay, Ash, you got me. You got me. And she said it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Love you, babe. Number 1 was hard for me, but since The Undertaker went into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, my number 1 pick is Randy Orton. Ooh, you threw a curveball at me there. A 3-way tie, Portland Wrestling, Christina Von Eerie, CJ Bates, the Cosmic River. They are really good friends of mine. That's awesome. My GOAT, the greatest character of all time, The Undertaker. Character work, longevity, keeping kayfabe alive. Ric Flair, the man could do those Iron Man matches, could promo, and when he won the Royal Rumble, I jumped out of my seat and screamed my head off. My number 1 is The Undertaker. I loved watching him as a kid. He was awesome. All right, baby. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, Ashley.
Some of the funniest moments of Stone Cold beat. Oh, yeah. When he came in and he was hitting him with the bedpan and shit. I think that is hands down the greatest rivalry in all of wrestling history. Steve Austin versus the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon.
Probably is.
That was amazing.
Robin says, Scott Hall, when he passed away, it had a huge impact on me. Wrestling won't be the same without him. Hard to argue that.
Yeah.
What's your name? It doesn't matter. Look, if we were going by mic skills, easily The Rock would have won. I was just never a fan of The Rock in the ring. I really wasn't.
You're canceled.
I on the mic, I really don't think there'll ever be anybody like The Rock on the mic. But just his in-ring stuff wasn't for me. Your voice acting is awesome, J-Dev. I got to agree. I love J-Dev's voice acting.
I'm good at impersonation, so.
Number 1, Liv Morgan. She has a Harley Quinn vibe. She and I have a lot in common food-wise. She loves horror, and Chucky is her favorite movie, which is everything I love too. Yeah, I do love Liv Morgan.
She's good.
Oh.
I don't know why they don't give her the title already.
I know.
They will. They will eventually.
There's me being canceled by J-Dub. Yeah, The Rock's not on my list. I'm sorry. Little stuff. Hey, thanks, Daniel. Great work as always. Comment section, Ken, J-Dub, horror couple. Yeah, it was awesome. Number 316. So before we go, we talked about our top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. We had some honorable mentions on there. We're going to go now. I didn't tell the guys we were going to do this. what is your guys' favorite match of all time? Your favorite match, one match of all time. I've talked about a couple of mine. But before we do that, I want to say, while you guys are thinking, thank you, everybody that came out. I was very nervous about this one being my first non-horror related stream. I couldn't think of two better guys to do this with. So thank you guys for coming along for this ride. And the comment section was awesome. I hate saying fan, but the friend stuff over here was really great, guys. It meant a lot to me. I was very nervous, not because of the guys I was with or my own ability.
It's different.
It was just different. Exactly. And something I want to say, this was a guys' night out, and it was fun for me. So if you got a guys' night out, that means you got to have a ghouls' night out. The girls. Ashley will be hosting a ghouls' night out. She will be doing a all-girl stream on Sledgehammer Horror here in the next couple weeks, and I'm so excited. Kaylee from that horror couple hopefully will be joining, and a couple other of our friends will be on there. I'm so excited to watch Ashley take the reins and kick some ass on here. So she's going to come up with a topic. We're going to talk to the girls. We're going to set it all up, and I know that they're going to be amazing and wonderful. So if I can do it, Ashley's going to absolutely kill this. So I'm very, very excited. I'll catch up on the chat real quick. The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels was one of the best rivalries at WrestleMania. Absolutely. Killer stream. Thanks, buddy. Undertaker versus Mankind. My favorite match is Sting versus Ric Flair. Melina at Jet City Comic Con. Got a picture with her. She's another beautiful lady. Liv Morgan versus Sasha Banks recently is my favorite match. That was a great match.
I love Sasha Banks. She's awesome. Underrated, in my opinion, actually.
Oh, yeah. So you want to start us off, Rob? Your favorite match of all time?
Can I pick two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pick 8.
I said this before, Undertaker and Michaels, WrestleMania 25. They stole the show. That match could have went either way. Talk about edge of your seat the whole time. Just top performers going at it, challenging each other. They were both in the twilight of their career, too, and they stole the damn show. I love that match, Undertaker versus Michaels, WrestleMania 25. And then if you go back to WrestleMania 13, Austin and Bret Hart. Bret Hart started off as a babyface. Austin was the heel, and they switched places by the end of the match. Talk about like wrestling like the psychiatry of it. Like they just totally flipped places by the end of the match. The crowd was booing Bret. They were cheering Austin, and Austin lost the match. But he was like just the way it was that match. I like that match a lot. And if you watch that match, they're both great technical wrestlers. But that match was like it started off like a straight up street fight in the crowd.
Yeah.
That's a great match. And, I think Bret was pissed at that point because they took him out of the main event picture. But I think him and Austin stole the show that night. Really.
Absolutely.
That's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches. Bret Hart and Austin and Taker and Michaels. Those two, off the top of my head, I say watch those. If somebody doesn't know anything about wrestling, I would sit them down and show them those matches.
Okay. Well, what about you, J-Dev?
I already said it, but Austin and The Rock at WrestleMania 17. If I had to pick another match, I'm not sure on the specific event. I think it was Royal Rumble 2001 or 2000. I seem to remember Jericho, Angle, and the guy that killed his wife and kid, Benoit. I think they had a triple threat match at one of the Royal Rumbles. I think it was 2000 or 2001. That was pretty incredible. A lot of AJ Styles matches are awesome. I love AJ Styles. I mean, a lot of wrestlers would be on my list. And we talked about good heels and underrated heels earlier. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, yes, but Ravishing Work Rude was one of the best heels of all time. Underrated too. But those are the things that come to my mind, at least at the time being.
I love when he used to call the crowd fat and out of shape and all the. I love that.
Yes.
Yep.
When it comes to my favorite match, I'm on the spot too because I just thought of this while we were doing it. I know that Shawn and Bret's Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12 has to be on there.
I was going to mention that, but I didn't.
Yeah, that was just such a phenomenal match. And I don't remember exactly which event it was, but there was a TLC match between Edge and John Cena that I remember was very, very good. Give John Cena all the shit you want, but he always entertained me. But that was another one that I liked a lot. There's just so many running through my head right now. Hardy and The Undertaker, the ladder match at Raw was another really big one. Because that kept me on the edge of my seat. I thought Hardy might actually win that match. I thought Hardy had a chance to win that match and win the title. I mean, a part of me knew it wasn't going to happen. You know what? Here you go. House show I went to in Toledo, Ohio. I saw Ken Shamrock versus The Rock for the Intercontinental title. The Rock was the champion. Ken Shamrock was the challenger. Ken Shamrock threw the ankle lock on The Rock. We're all like, oh, wow. The Rock taps out. The place in Toledo goes nuts. Oh, my God. Ken Shamrock just won the Intercontinental title from The Rock. Ken Shamrock won't let go of the ankle lock, so they reverse the decision and disqualify him. The whole crowd goes ape shit. It was insane. I'm going to put that on the list, too. Davey Boy Bret Hart was a great one. Let's go Belair and Banks, man. That legit kept me going. Like that, I was really.
That was incredible.
Yeah, that was an incredible match. It's just Randy Savage versus the Dragon at WrestleMania 3 was a great one. Man, there's just so many. Michaels and Ramon, whether you want to do either one of their ladder matches, the SummerSlam one or the WrestleMania 10 one. There's just so many great matches that are. I just love wrestling. I do. Baseball, wrestling, horror movies, like you guys. Like this is my life, man. Besides my wife and kids, like this is the shit that keeps me going. So being with you guys tonight has been so amazing. We'll catch up on the chat real quick. Cena versus Punk, Money in the Bank 2011.
That was great.
Undertaker. Oh, you saw that live? Dude, that had to be so fucking intense.
Oh,
Sasha
really?
Banks is the best. Taker, HBK, both WrestleMania matches were the best ever. Those were amazing. Wow, you were there? J-Dub, yep. The actual first ladder match was Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, not Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, which is an absolute fact. Bret Hart won that. TLC match, Hardest in 3D. Oh, the Hardys and 3D, and I think Edge and Christian. Yeah, that was another great one. Sasha's awesome. Yeah, Bailey's great. WrestleMania 2000 was amazing. I had that video game.
I did too.
Cactus Jack and Triple H. She deserves it more than Charlotte. Bret Hart and Stone Cold WrestleMania 13. You can't repeat that match. That was two guys at the top. Like you said, that was two guys at the top of their game that flipped the script. You barely have that happen where two guys can flip it so perfectly, and that was great. Shamrock and MMA was insane. Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys TLC match, WrestleMania 17. Bailey and Sasha Banks as a tag team again. Styles versus Cena, SummerSlam 16. Owens and Cena, Chamber 15. Yeah. No, Cena had an hour-long match with Shawn Michaels on Raw. That was just a phenomenal match. I think they were in Europe. And Shawn Michaels ended up winning. John Cena went for the attitude adjustment. Shawn Michaels landed on his feet and hit him with the super kick and won the match after an hour on Raw. You gotta love him. Hey, what's up, Lewis? Lewis will be joining us soon. I didn't know you were a big wrestling fan, Ken. That's killer. Lifelong fan myself. You saw. Okay. I love the stream, y'all. Got to do these more often. This was a blast.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Mr. Perfect and Sting. What was your favorite women's match on wrestling? Can be any company too, J-Dev.
What comes to mind is Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Trish Stratus, I'm sure she had a match that's not coming to mind. Trish is definitely in my top three as far as females go.
Trish and Lita.
That too, yes. Yeah, I think either Bianca Belair match I'd have to watch them again to okay, which one's better? Because they were both pretty awesome. And I didn't expect Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair to have a good match. I'm not terribly sold on Becky Lynch. I think she's good at times, but I don't know why the fans are so giddy about her, but she definitely put on a performance, her and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 38.
Rhea Ripley had a really good match with Belair too when they were in NXT.
I didn't watch a lot of NXT.
They had a really, really good match.
Okay.
Sasha Bailey match NXT.
Yeah.
That was amazing. It was like in Brooklyn, like a couple years back in NXT.
See, I don't know where it was for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great match too. That was a great rivalry when Jericho punched Shawn's wife. I was like, oh, dude, you'd be dead. Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker, awesome hardcore match. Oh man, remember
That was
man the hardcore? Remember when the hardcore championship was a thing?
yes.
That was awesome. What was your guys' favorite feud in terms of modern wrestling? I'll let you start this one, J-Dev.
I think Rock Stone Cold. Nowadays, I'm trying to think of something that's really long and ongoing.
I mean, you can't put down Reigns and Lesnar. It's a good feud.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think
I like Roman Reigns. I'm one of the few that actually I do like Roman Reigns. I do. I like the Usos. I think they're fun. But I'm with you, trying to think of a modern feud. The problem, like we were talking earlier, with attention span, it's hard for people to hold a feud for long today because people are bouncing it all over the place.
Yeah. Let's go. Let me think for Rob. If you have one, let Rob go, and maybe I'll think of one that comes to mind.
How far back does modern go exactly?
I was kind of wondering that too. Now, is that what it is now?
Let's go with the last 10 years.
Last 10 years. Oh, geez. Probably, I like Punk and Cena. That got brought up at Money in the Bank. That was really good.
Yeah.
It was like the story. I just like the storyline of like Cena being the poster boy. Punk was this punk rock guy, and he said, "I'm never promoted. I'm not. I don't get the main event spot." And he was just. It seemed like it was real. Like you said, that storyline was very real, and I like that a lot. I think you touched on Roman Reigns and Lesnar. That is a good feud, but I like Roman as a heel.
Absolutely.
I think him as a babyface did. I thought he was weak on promos, but he's a good like silent badass ass kicker, and I think he's a good. I like the bloodline nowadays, and I like Roman Reigns as a heel. It works, and I feel like they could have done that with Cena a couple times, and they chose not to. But I feel like they did the right thing with Reigns. So when I watch Raw nowadays, or SmackDown nowadays, I like seeing heel Roman Reigns. So.
The Miz and Cena was a good feud too. If we're talking, I like The Rock and Cena was a good one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I like Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. That had a long build to it, and it had a good climax. Although it should have been for the title, Jericho should have won the title, and he did.
My best friend, Kevin Owens. I love when he always said that. He's like, my best friend.
Yeah, that's great. I hope that was a good answer for you, Top Gun. Trish and Mickey had some good matches.
Yep.
Rockin' Robin, Becky Lynch with her outfit. Hey, thanks for joining us, buddy. It meant a lot having you here. Brian versus the Authority was good. Michelle McCool carried the women's division for a couple of years. But that AJ Styles is another one that can make everybody look great. And having him and Cena together is awesome. You're right. Feuds don't last like they used to. Like even like the intensity of them. Like with Shawn, with Michaels and Hart. You knew those guys legitimately hated each other. Like, that was legit heat. They hated each other, and you knew it. But their chemistry was so good in the ring.
What are your thoughts on – you mentioned AJ Styles, but what were your thoughts on the Boneyard match with Taker?
That was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was very creative, the way they edited it all together like a movie. It was like a street fight in a movie, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like –
I've always been a big fan of theatrics in wrestling. It's funny because people are like, oh, it's fake. So are movies, bro. And I fucking love them. Like I love when they put I love the entertainment part of sports entertainment. I do love that. So I love when they do stuff like that. Like the Buried Alive matches, the Inferno matches. I thought I think those are great, man.
Absolutely.
So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming out. This has been so much fun, and I hope that you guys can make it out when Ashley does her Ghouls Night Out. And also, next week, we will be joined by which one is next week? We are joined. I'm trying to remember what we're doing next week. I've been so nervous about this one that I'm looking at my schedule right now to see who we're joined by next week and what we're doing, because it's been a long couple days and I've been just focused on this one. Next week, we are joined by the Romans React to re-rank the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Oh.
So, as you all know,
You are all my children now.
and my children. We will have a lot of fun next week. So, gentlemen, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody, before you sign off from here, make sure you're clicking these links down here in the description. Make sure you're subscribing to That Horror Couple. Make sure you're subscribing to JDev TV. They make great content, and they're great people and great friends. So I wouldn't ask you to do it if they weren't amazing. Until next time, guys, keep talking, keep smelling what The Rock is cooking, and we'll see you guys soon.
Later.